Good evening and welcome to another night here in the American Ricci Mahjong League. I am joined by our broadcast director Scott and fellow commentator Nathaniel. How are you doing tonight, Nathaniel?
Doing quite well, Tucker, and I'm really excited to be casting again. I feel like it's been a while since I've had that opportunity, and looking forward to a couple of really interesting B2 matches tonight.
Yeah, you've been on the back end quite a bit lately, and your commentator's chops coming out already in introducing my name when I neglected to introduce myself. I'm Ennui, also known as Tucker sometimes.
Yeah, I
But
feel
this
like, Tucker, you've been kind of one of the main voices of the league, so I'm sure everybody knows who you are.
it's just because I'm so gosh darn loud. But tonight, our first couple of matches here, we have Joe, Matthew, Peter, and Brett, and it looks like Joe is going to be our first dealer here. And we've got a lot of people from the top half of the league, and then Brett, who's going to be trying to start the climb out of this hole he has found himself in. But everybody else pretty high up the rankings here.
Brett, founding member of the Negative Gang, finds himself well into that range, but with a couple good matches, you can certainly climb out of it. It's not impossible to do so, and there are still 4 matches to be played in this round, 4 matches to be played in the next session. So that's plenty of opportunity to get out of there. And for the rest of the 3 players at the table, you're just trying to improve your placement. Currently, it looks like Joe is sitting locked in a B1 place. It is Matthew and Peter who are fighting to try to make it to one of those solidified B1 places. Currently, they're sitting in the B1, B2 playoff spot.
And even for Brett here, it's important to remember that you can advance into B2 while still being in the negative gang. You could almost advance into B1 while being in the negative gang, but there's a pretty big jump from 11th to 10th place between Edwin and Blaine, where the certified B2 slots start. So it'd be a lot of work to get to B1, but you could still be in the negatives and stay in B2 rather than falling into B3. Oh, and it looks like our match is about to start here. Ooh,
Yeah,
or
quick
is it
little
just
refresh, and
there
we're
we
into it.
go. Oh wow, this hand right off the bat. What I mean, Honitsu?
You certainly have a lot of Sozu tiles, but the presence of the 5-6 pin makes you think maybe there's some other options here. Probably play it a little bit normal, start with the honor tiles, and think about Honitsu, but not commit fully to it. To the right, also a little bit awkward. You can maybe think about 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku, but you have so many edge shapes that it's a little bit hard to imagine that hand moving forward smoothly. Does have a Dora 6-mon, though. There is a little bit of value there. Across the table, you have fairly standard shapes, probably going to make Ricci there. Unfortunately, not a lot of value outside of that. And to the left, these shapes look excellent. Outside chance at 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku, and probably just Ricci Pinfu.
Now the Dora is the 6-mon, which we see Brett on the left holding on to that 7-mon to accept the Dora. And across the table, we see Matthew can accept the Dora 6-mon into that, well, now 7-7-8-8 shape. What do you discard from that shape? I always find it awkward.
Yeah, starts with the West and says, I'm going to hang on to that dot for later. Might even be able to accept 2 tiles in that shape to make an Ipeko. Now that you've paired up the 4-mon, probably thinking to treat that as a double Dianven shape.
So treating it as a 7-8-mon and another separate 7-8-mon.
Exactly. You want to think about those as sequences, perhaps. And for the dealer, that originally looked like a Honitsu hand, but now is starting to look a little bit more like Tanya with the Dora.
Could even still get 4-5-6 Sanshoku here. Is actually kind of perfectly set up for that, other than we'd almost lose a shape in doing so.
Now
Good
that
call.
now that we're midway through the second row, is thinking about it, decides to pass it and gets a nice 6 so draw.
Ooh, it discards the Dora. What do you think about that?
Probably just worried about the fact that it isn't guaranteed to be able to be used in the hand, and we're getting close to the point in time where you'd expect somebody to be going reach. And now
When do
speeding things
you
up.
when do you start worrying about people calling Ricci?
Definitely around, at the end of the first row, you're starting to get close, right? People should be Dian Shan 10, Ishan 10. As you get to the middle of the second row, I'm definitely thinking it's time for somebody to go Ricci here.
Although
If
it
they
does look like people are kind of struggling to get there. As far
Yeet.
as Ricci goes, there it
Well-
is.
That looks like Peter waiting for the 5-8 so.
And unfortunately, that's going to end up being, I guess they have the set of 9, so it doesn't matter, but that's going to end up counting as the pair regardless of which one is won on.
Yeah, it does have a Dora in hand, so Ricci Dora. And the Anko of 9 mon is a lot of foo there. And looking around, we see there are 2 of those tiles left in the wall. One, just 1 5 so left in the wall, so not good odds.
And we
Across
have
the
Tenpai
table.
now for Matthew on the 1-pin and 4-pin.
Of course, that's Foodie 10 because you have a 1 pin in the discards.
Ricci.
So you can't call Roan. And now, Ricci on the left.
Chi.
This is San Anko chance. Ricci waiting for the
Long.
6 pin and 9 pin, but Joe finds Tenpai and deals in with the 8 so. No Uda, so just 2,600. Not a bad start for Peter.
And as dealer, you don't typically mind dealing into such a small hand.
No, I believe Joe was calling for Tenpai there, so you're okay with fighting, and if you deal in small hands, so be it. This dealer hand is not looking good. So many honor tiles. It looks one of those hands where you're going to make normal progression, discard your honors, and see what you can draw. And drawing a second door is really nice.
On the other hand, though, Joe on the left has already called the Seat Wind, the North, and has a couple of shapes in hand that, that 1 so could be easily called. And then I was just about to mention the 6-7 Rionmin is probably going to complete pretty quickly as well. Just needs to find a 5th shape.
Yep, looking for that 5th block. And unfortunately, not going to be a lot of value here unless you can pair up a Yakuhai. But that would just be 2 Han even then. So just trying to make up for that 2,600 point loss and move the dealership forward again. And looking at the other hands, can anybody match this speed?
The shapes on the right don't feel very good, especially that 1-2 Pinchan in the Manzu.
And now a Kanchan there as well, 5-7. Oh, there's a draw of the 1 pin. So now you've got an Anko.
Now, Brett across the table has started discarding the pair of 9-pin, probably making some sort of move to accept Tanyao. Maybe have better efficiency. Ooh,
Yeah,
but
perhaps
discards the
even Itsu.
5-pin.
I mistakenly called the 1, so a 1 pin, but now finds Tenpai for Joe on the Hatsu and the 5 mon. Of course, the Hatsu would be a little bit extra value. You have enough food for 2,600.
Which would, as you said before, that would be replacing the points lost.
Peter is dealer, still struggling to come up with a hand. Has the 2 Dora. At this point, you might consider just calling any sort of Tanyao tiles like this 4 pin. Instead, passes up and might be thinking about pairs at this point. Brett's hand across the table, now maybe making Ipeko in the Sozu.
Yeah, Peter, I don't know what I would do with Peter's hand. This isn't the tiles that you paired up are not tiles that you really expect to be able to call for Toy Toy. You could make the push for Tanyao like you said, but that would involve getting rid of our 899 shape.
I definitely think at this point Chitoi is your best option, and Brett now creates that Ipeko as Ishan 10 for Tanyao Pinfu Ipeko. Could even think about pairs. Your Ishan 10 for 7 pairs as well. But there's the Hatsu.
It doesn't come out yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been discarded yet, so it does look a little dangerous. And that hand is Ishan 10, but lacking a pair.
So you might actually be in trouble if you draw the 8 mon. If you draw the Dora, it's going to look like you have an absolutely incredible weight, but we have a con of the 1 so here, an open con no less, which revealed the 8-pin as the new Dora, which doesn't really benefit anybody. Peter has one, but once again, Peter's hand is so far from Tenpai that
Joe actually had called the 8-pin earlier, so now there is a lot of value here.
There is one in there. I totally missed that.
D3 and 50. 64 is not bad. From what was looking to be a 1,000 point hand from the first call. And now another. Yeah.
Peter just got Ishan 10 for Chitoy. Like you said, I didn't think that the pairs would ever actually come, but he's gotten the hand there.
Matthew still hanging on to that Hatsu. Brett still Ishan 10, just wants to find one more Manzu tile.
Oh my goodness, Peter's Tenpai.
Picks waiting the 6, so 6 mon wait, yeah. Oh, that's Tenpai for Brett too, and the 6 might come out.
Wow. And that is absolutely incredible. Both the fact that Peter was able to find Tenpai with that hand, which just looked like it was never going to complete, and the fact that Matthew so well held on to that Hatsu to not deal in. That was some absolutely beautiful play, and kind of just unfortunate for Brett to end up needing to cut that 6 mon.
I mean, it made sense to hang on to that 6 mon because you could have made pairs out of that hand. Instead, drew the Dora, picked the more efficient weight, cutting the 6 mon instead of the 3 mon, and dealt in. But 9,600 for that hand for Peter was excellent. And this starting hand is not bad as well. You've got 2 complete shapes as well, a Yemen and the Sozu, and a pair. So you almost have all your blocks.
It'd be really nice to draw in, especially around that 3 mon. Because if you could stretch this into a Sanshoku and get a little bit more value, you're missing the Dora South. So you have to make your value some other way.
See, 2 of the Souths have been discarded already. So the other hands must be pretty close. To the right, we see that is 2 Shanten away from Sanshoku. Across the table, we've got Tenpai with a 5/8 1 mon weight. For just Ricci only. There's no Sananko here, unfortunately. And then
the 8s, you're going to be forced to use either the 8s as a pair or the 1s as a pair. There's no way to count them both as triples. Oh, there's the 1 mon.
Yeah, Joe in a little bit of trouble. No. It does come out. Joe was Ishanten, and so it didn't have that many save tiles. Just a 1,300 point hand, so not too expensive. Plus the home buff, of course.
And that helps out Brett a little bit as well. Tightens the gap between 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, we move on to East 3, which will be Matthew's dealership. And Matthew's starting with 3 pairs, but also a completed sequence in the Pinzu. So you're not necessarily thinking about making pairs just yet. When you have all these pairs, you're thinking perhaps, for example, I'll draw a 4 or 6 mon to go next to those 5s, and now I've got Yamen plus shape. To the right, we've got some good inner tiles, but still a bunch of floating honors that will be cut. So hoping to make Ricci here. Across the table, I like this hand. This is Joe, who's got potential Itsu and reasonable shapes here as well. Has 2 Dora 8 mon, and so you'd ideally like to draw maybe even an Ipeko in the upper Manzu. And then to the left, look at those 4 Easts in Peter's hand.
When do you call that Khan?
Peter might be thinking about calling it upon reaching Ishan 10. Well, now you got to call it very soon, I imagine. You really want to draw near that Dora 8.
Khan.
There we go. There's the Khan.
Flips the 9 pin as the Dora, which there are 2 in Joe's hand across the table.
Now Joe with a pair of both of the Dora tiles. That hand is extremely expensive if he can put it together.
Peter just made a very good sideways move, drawing in the 5 pin. Now has that really good Nobitan or stretch to single shape if you've read Ricci Book 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5.
But it is Matthew who finds Tenpai first. Oh! Immediately followed by Brett. Matthew's hand is waiting on 3/6-0 for Ricci, potential Sanshoku on the 6. And to the right, it is Brett who's waiting on the, what is it, the 8? The 8?
And it comes out. Oh, that's and that is a confirmed Sanshoku.
No. Yeah, the 4/5-6 was already in hand for Brett. So this is Ricci, Ippat, Sanshoku, Dora, and any Ura? No, Ura. Oh, that's so sad. You'd think with 2 indicators you might have a chance at that, but that's still a Mongon for Brett, and that's plus 10k, including his Ricci stick, moving him to 30,000 and taking second place.
Yeah, that was an absolutely massive win for Brett there, and especially with Matthew's Ricci stick being on the table, that Matthew is now below 30k.
For sure. And Joe had a hand worth fighting for. Unfortunately, ended up dropping the door right into the Epod's turn. Against 2 Riccis, that's so scary. As it is, Brett, after winning that hand, becomes the new dealer. Has a pretty strong start, only 2 tiles away from Tenpai here with reasonable shapes, the weakest being the 7-9 Kanchan. To the right, well, that looks like Honitsu to me, maybe even Honitsu Chanta?
We certainly are still holding a ton of honor tiles there. All of which have been at least once cut. The Hatsu's been twice cut. So it's going to, the Hatsu comes out once a So shape appears.
After drawing the 4 So, maybe thinking, all right, this isn't coming together as cleanly as I wanted, and because the Hatsu has been twice cut, I can hang on to this Sozu shape. But if I draw any more Pinzu, I'll probably keep dropping the Sozu.
Yeah, there's a weird tension going on with Joe's hand, because Joe would really like a fast hand because he is holding 2 of the Dora 1-peen, but since they're 1-peen, and since he has an Anko of the Norse, he has the triplet of Norse in hand right now, really can't really open without creating something like Chanta. So normally Chanta is slow, but it might be faster than waiting around for Ricci if you're given all of these honor tiles.
Interesting decision for Brett here. Has managed to build an incredible hand with a 2-3-4 locked away. Ishan 10 for Sanshoku, along with potential Tanya, potential Pingfu. Drew the 5 So and had the opportunity to switch to a double Nobutan weight, but really wants to lock in the 2-3-4 as the sequence and not as a 3-4-5. It is Matthew, though, who declares Ricci. That weight is the 4-7. Ricci, Pingfu, Dora 1. Across the table, Peter had called the 2 So, aiming to make Tanya here, but now against this Ricci, might be backing out of this. Did not feel comfortable dropping the 1 So.
Now has dropped the safe 8 So in subsequent turns.
Yeah, the hand doesn't have any value outside of Tanya, so probably going to be a fold here. In the meantime, on the right, Joe has paired up the East Wind, and that has not been discarded yet.
Yeah, and Brett is kind of being forced to push here. You have this incredibly wide Ishan 10.
Just cannot find the right tiles. The ideal one would be the 4-pin. Ooh, choosing to give up on the upper Manzu shape. The 3-mon certainly looks scary.
And there's the Sumo.
Ricci, Tsumo, Pingfu, Dora, and Wukimi Bani Uda to make this more expensive. Not quite, just 5,200 for Matthew. Brett taking the brunt of that moves him below 30,000, and Matthew takes second place right back.
Yeah, and back over 30k, which is going to be a very important number as we enter the South round now, back to Joe's dealership.
Yeah, Joe with some awkward shapes here. You've got the 135 Diankan, but 2 penchants, the 8-9 mon and the 1-2 So, and the pair of off-wind. You're really just hoping to perhaps back into Itzu here in the Manzu, or declare Ricci. And you could even think about Honitsu if your goal is to discard the 1-2 Penchan. You might end up drawing more Manzu tiles, but after this 5 is drawn, you're probably not thinking about that either. Quickly to the right, we've got excellent shapes for Ricci Pingfu with 2 Dora, that being the 6-mon. And across the table, we've got potential Ipeiko in the upper Pinzu. And outside of that, a bunch of Kanchan shapes to fill, and floating the 7-mon to hopefully accept a Dora 6. To the left, we've got a pair of tunes, so you can call this quickly, and Brett might be willing to do so with the current score line. A lot of Sozu tiles, but...
There's Tenpai, though, for Peter on the right.
Yeah, that definitely looked like the fastest hand, waiting on 147.
Yeah, so Ricci Pinfu gets Ipeco on just the one peen.
Yeah, but the one most likely to be discarded.
And two Dora, of course, as was mentioned at the start of the hand.
Right, beautiful hand for Peter. In first place, you're extremely happy to get this early reach.
So the question now is, if you are Brett, are you still calling the tune?
Well, let's see. This is Ishan 10 now. The tiles you have to discard are that Forso, which doesn't look extremely safe, but it passes. And then either the 2-mon or the 1-mon, depending on what gets drawn here. Now that you've drawn another 2-mon, your Tempai for pairs, actually.
This is Ishanten for Chitoy.
Well, Tempai,
which do you toss out?
Oh,
the 7 piece better weight. Oh.
Typically, the tiles closer to the edge are safer, but that one was not. And Peter finds an Ura, but that only brings it from 4 to 5 Hans, so it doesn't make a change in the points. That is still an excellent hand for Peter, who is now sitting at near 50,000 points in first place and our new dealer.
To briefly linger on the pass hand just for a second, would you have called Ricci with that 7 pairs hand?
I probably.
There was no Dora, so it was 7 pairs only, just Chitoy.
Yeah, it's awkward because Matthew hadn't really been showing Pinsu in his discards, so it's not like other players are likely to discard the Pinsu tiles. It's really a battle between you and the dealer, and because it's Chitoy, your weight's very bad. Just a pair weight. It's likely the other player has the better weight. I'm not sure I'm even willing to take that fight. I'll probably take the Tempai. Yeah, it's a really awkward situation. Like, if I'm willing to fight, then I guess I should reach because I'm dropping anything anyway.
Yeah, but that's a pretty classic issue in discussions about Chitoy specifically, when to call Ricci. On this hand though, just to bring us back, even though I was the one that brought us away with that discussion, Peter has a very nice Ishanten here, possibly Peiko.
Yeah, drawing the 3-mon would be ideal. Discarding the 3-pin for Tempai then. To the right, we have the Anko of North and 2 Dora in hand, so Ishan 10 for a very nice hand here. Ricci Dora 2. Across the table, this also looks really pretty with all of these Tanyang type tiles.
Yeah, I've got kind of an awkward headless Ishan 10.
Pulling in this 4, I'm trying to read these shapes. That does work as your pair, but dropping the 7 here kind of makes sense. If you draw the 4 pin, you can reroute your hand back to using the pin tiles, but your shape in the Monzu is very wide. So this makes a lot of sense. To the left, it is also Ishan 10, but with awkward weights. Ricci Dora 1. Ooh, Peter choosing to break up the Ipeco, but it is Matthew who found a pair of the West Wind for Tempai, actually. That's interesting. I believe he was hanging on to the West Wind as a safe tile, but ended up pairing it up. It declares Ricci on the 4-pin for just Ricci Dora 1 now.
That was a very aggressive discard on the Apatsu turn from Brett, discarding the 5-pin, which looks incredibly dangerous next to the 4-pin. Oh, and there's the Apatsumo.
Ricci Patsu Pinfu. Sorry, Sumo Dora Ura, so that's a Mangan.
And now we have Matthew, sorry. There's not even a Michael at this table. It's just another M name. Is right here in the hunt with Peter for first place. They're only 3,700 points apart, and likewise, only 2,900 points separate Brett and Joe for third and fourth. So we're gonna have 2 dogfights here at both the top and the bottom.
Yeah, things get really interesting when you have this type of point spread. Matthew's got a bit of an advantage with this hand. You have the pair of Haku and completed Anko of the 4, so already you can think about calling going quickly here. You might even think about turning this to Honitsu, as the 8-9 Mon Penchant is a little bit weak.
Yeah, and that 2-so coming to hand is great too, because now you can accept the door a 1-so.
Indeed. To the right, well, this looks really nice for Brett, though. You've already got 2 completed shapes in the Manzu, and you are Gian Shanten with really wide acceptance. Got Yamen in the Pinzu and the Sozu, and of course the 3-3-3-5 shape. You could treat that as a pair type shape. Or just draw another 9, that works too.
Yeah, and Brett though discarding the Haku out of that hand with all those nice shapes, reckon you probably need to fight with it, and Matthew immediately jumping on that call. Now at Yishan 10.
Draws a pair of the 9, so this is an even wider Ishanten. Now you can call the Dora and beat Tempai. Across the table, it looks like Joe's trying to make a potential Sanshoko, but Brett finds Tempai. Waiting on 5-8. So for Ricci only.
And unfortunately, because of all the terminals in your hand, you can't Dama this. So, you might be slightly unwilling to call Ricci only weights, but you have a good weight, and you're never going to shift this into something that you can win while Dama. So I can definitely see taking this Ricci.
Exactly. I mean, just the fact that you're so close to the next competitor, your shape's never really improving here. Your value is not really going to improve. So you really have no option but to take the Ricci. And, well, Matthew fights, calls Pon on the 9 Mon, takes Tempai on the 3 pin, which is safe from dealer. That might come out. Sorry, safe from the Ricci.
It'll be interesting to see how hard Matthew is willing to push this. Was playing kind of Mawashi looking tiles that look like they might be safe based on the discards. Manzu looks really cheap, but Brett is going to pull in the 5-so all by himself.
Oh, finds an Uratu, so a little bit more value here, and that's actually really big, extending the gap between him and Joe. So now it's 7,900 point gap as we move
Brett's
to
the last dealer.
Pair of Haku, pair of Hatsu, pair of Chun, and lots of Pinzu tiles. That's the Dora suit too. This could be an expensive hand if you get the right draws. Passes on the first call. Willing to wait a little bit, see what else comes his way. Well, there's a call. Grabs the Chuns. This looks like Honitsu. Speaking about Honitsu, look at the hand on the left as the Hatsu comes out as well. Now it becomes pretty evident what's going on here.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this East. If Matthew's able to make a move towards Tempai very quickly, although it's going to be hard to compete with Brett already having the ability to make 3 calls. I mean, this East is going to help Matthew along, but would he be willing to take the East with dealer already having a very obviously expensive hand? We see 3 Han right off the bat.
This is Tempai waiting on that East. Wow, Brett had chosen to hang on to that. And now there's 1 left in the wall to be drawn. Right now this is Chun, Hatsu, Honitsu, Dora 1. That's just a Mangan.
And there's no real way for it to become a Hanuman other than switching to a pair weight on the 3-peen.
Right. Grabbing another Dora that way.
I guess you could also still end up technically with a pair weight on the Haku as well, although we see 2 of those in Peter's hand across the table.
Right, no matter what you... Oh. I guess that's fine. You aren't expecting someone else to be able to use the East as we're in the South round, so East is only your wind. Unfortunately, there is actually somebody at this table who's able to use it. Although Matthew, having drawn that 2-pin, are you willing to risk that?
Oh, we see 2 peen discards already, and then 3 Sumogiri after that. Like, I don't know, even if you're not paying attention to Sumogiri or Tadashi, like the fact that you now see 2 8-peen discards and a 1-peen discard, I would be folding pretty hard.
3 calls, you got Pinzu overflow, honor overflow. I definitely assuming Tempai.
I mean, even if this isn't a Honitsu, which they might not expect it to be, given how early those peen discards were, that doesn't really matter. This is already 3 Han. Oh, but there's the East!
And that's going to be 12,000 points. straight from Matthew to Brett, so this is going to exchange places.
Yeah, a direct reversal. Was probably thinking of the East as being slightly safer with 2 in hand. Yeah, that Honitsu was a little bit obscured with all of the calls being so early.
Yeah, definitely not necessarily guaranteed to be Honitsu, but unfortunately that was the case. And I honestly thought the hand was going to end with the 6-so coming out and dealing into Joe, who had found a Damten Tenpai on the right. I don't remember if that hand had a Yaku, but I think it was just like Tanya, something along those lines. As it is, Joe passes up on the first tune, has the pair in hand, and is looking to build a little bit more value, especially being in deep 4th place here. Back to our dealer hand, Brett has Adora East, but just one of them, and is looking to make probably just Ricci only, unless you can get perfect draws. Well, now with that draw, you're thinking about Pinhu as a likely option.
Could have also considered Itsu, but immediately does away with that by discarding the 1-so. Wants to hold on to all of the nice shapes and the Dora, so not really room in the hand for the 1-so.
Yeah, this is a pure efficiency play. The 5-5-7-9-9 shape is extremely nice. You can draw anything from 5 to 9 except for the 7 and lock up your pair and sequence nicely. This is Ishan 10 for Brett. Drops the East, and that's Dorapone called by Peter, who, that's not value, will try to find some other way to grab value. Grab a Yaku, rather.
Yeah, has the value, just needs a way to take that value home. Maybe could push for a Pin Honitsu.
Pin Honitsu, 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, maybe even pair up the Haku and make a Yakuhai there. Oh, this is Tenpai, but you can't win with it.
Now, can't even sumo since your hand is open.
Yeah, decision point here looks to be aiming for the either pairing up the Yakuhai or going for that Pin Honitsu that you were mentioning.
And Brett now has discarded the South. This is the second South to come out. All right, so Matthew passed the first South and has indeed passed the second South as well. And now we have Peter entering an Atazuke Tenpai, and this is a dirty Atazuke. The Haku was just dropped the turn before by Joe. So if anybody draws that white dragon, I mean, I feel like they're certainly going to deal in at this point.
Especially if it was drawn.
Oh, and there it was! Oh, well, but now we have a wider Tenpai, a 147 weight.
Oh man, this is just max value right now. What was going to be a Mangan is now a Hanemon.
And this would be huge. Even as a sumo, that would be enough to drop Brett beneath 30k. So here's a question. If you're Peter and either Joe or Matthew discard the winning tile, do you take it? There's a lot. You get so much value if you're able to hit Brett directly. Ricci. Although now I assume there's going to be a Ricci, and now of course you don't pass anything.
Absolutely. Well, I think even in the situation of no Ricci, you still take it, as there's so much. I mean, 12,000 points is a lot of points, and 17,000 would be nice with an extra, +5. But I think you just want to grab the points that are guaranteed, especially this late in the hand.
Yeah, I guess the last thing you would want is to mess around and no.
That's going to deal in. Can you give up on this hand? You can't, and people will deal straight into Ricci Ura. Ricci Ura 1. So this moves Brett a little bit closer. Not quite overtaking just yet, but...
The other option there would have been to discard the 1 pin and have the 8-so as your pair weight. Although that's a massive loss in value. Well, I guess maybe massive 4,000 points. You go from your 12,000 point Hanemon to a 8,000 point Mangan.
Yeah, it depends on how, if you are 100% sure, let's say 95% sure that 8 deals in, perhaps you make that play. And say, I still got Mangan value here. If I think this is dealing in, I can just work around this tile. But Peter could not make that call and ended up going for the value. And this is going to make things really tight here, going into South 4 dealer repeat number
2.
We have 2 Homba. Did he actually win 2 dealer hands? Yes, I guess he did, because he won the hand before.
Yeah, I don't think we've gone to exhausted yet, have we?
You're right. So quick South call for Brett, hoping to just speed through this hand. I mean, it looks like you've got a lot of Pinzu tiles, but you're probably finding Tenpai before you make Honitsu. So just winning the 1,000 point hand, or if you can draw 1,500 point hand. And if you can hit that directly from Peter, you steal first.
Let's see, a 2100 point sumo would still just be a 2800 point gain. So that's not quite enough. That actually puts you like 300 points behind, I think.
Of course, you would keep going with that win. And looking around the table to the right, some awkward penchant shapes for Joe, outside of which the hand looked all right. And Brett finding another Onko here. If you draw...
Discarding the 4 pin, I think holding on to that 9 pin, because if you draw a 9, now it looks like you have a really good Toy Toy hand.
Exactly. With good draws, you could get enough value to overtake. And now you can make this call. Tempai waiting on 4 and 7. Mon. Right now, south only.
Ooh, the Dora came into Peter's hand just now. And so that is now an absolutely incredible one away.
Upon Sumo, you actually increase the foo a little bit. The left, this is this Ish? No, not quite. You have too many pairs. But you have a Dora. And wow, another Dora for Peter.
And that's Tempai waiting on the 6 pin. You could discard the 1-so and enter Damaten. Oh no, but doesn't take the Tempai.
Oh my.
Do you see any reason not to take the Tempai here?
I cannot think of one. I mean, you can even Dama that. As it is, you've drawn another Dora, so this hand could be extremely expensive. You could even build towards... Oh, but the 4 is drawn. And who's Tempai? That's Brett's Tempai.
Yeah, that's going to deal in.
No. Yeah, you're not giving up on this hand.
And with the direct hit, like you said, Brett got it because Peter had so many Dora in hand, and now Brett has taken the lead in all last.
And this is huge. The game will continue, so Peter has one more chance to grab this back. Has a hand to do so, as there's a pair of Haku, and you only need 1,000 points with the Honba. So you can call Haku, call until Roan or Tsumo, and grab that lead right back. And honestly, even if Peter had taken the Damaten Tempai there, probably would have ended up dealing in regardless.
The 6 pin did not come out of anybody's hand.
That's right. Looking around the table, I can't see anybody who's got super amazing hand, except Dealer's hand has got okay shapes and one completed set, but other than the potential for Ipeko in the lower Manzu, we're probably just making Ricci here.
Yeah, to the right. And Matthew had a pair of Souths. Matthew elected not to call pawn on Brett's South discard. The hand is just too disjointed to want to force something weak.
Now, we've seen Matthew do that a couple times, and honestly, I think I would call the pawn just because with the Honba, 1,000 plus the 900 points is enough to get you over 30K, even though your shapes are weak.
The 1-mon's in hand, so yeah, that's a really good point. Getting over 30K would be like winning 5,000 points at this point.
Exactly. Right now, you're losing. You're at -5 from the Uma. And so getting over 30K, getting +0 for that would be like getting 5,000 points. And this is so awkward. Looks like it's trying to force a Honitsu, but it's not getting the right draws.
And Brett holding on to this Aku for forever, really putting a damper on Peter's hand.
Had an opportunity to discard it, perhaps with the 8-so draw, you can keep the 6-8 shape and drop the Haku, but instead hanging on to it. I wonder if Brett made an early Chi-Toy call. Not with that discard. It's awkward because if you don't find Tempai at the end of the hand and somebody else is, specifically Peter, then you lose first.
Yeah, the only way to be no 10 and to still be in first is if Peter is also not in Tempai.
And Peter looks like he's making a good run for Tempai here. Ishan 10 now. For potentially Ipeko. But also would just love to call the Haku to get there. Okay, new strategy for Matthew. Do we take Chitoy or do we take Kokshi? Chitoy is the call. And there's an Anko of 2 Mon drawn for Brett. So this is technically Ishanten if you drop the 5 or Haku, and it finally comes out. Insta call for Peter. Grabs the Tenpai and the 2-5 so.
Which is dangerous for Matthew on the left.
Yeah, Matthew has no incentive to keep it in hand, but chose to hang on to it as the Haku was no chance to make a pair out of it. Same thing for the 1 pin, but as soon as he draws a better tile, it's likely the 5 will come out. June also no chance.
Brett actually making this shift here could give Brett the ability to call into a Tanya hand.
Sumo.
Oh, but there's the sumo for Peter, putting it into it. The 1 Han sumo to secure first place. That is huge.
Big win for Peter, and will claim 25 points after this game. Brett, not a bad job here, not a bad game. Did well to come back from the 3rd and 4th position to almost claiming first here. Finishes with positive 13.9. Matthew, negative 7.4. And Joe, the 4th at a negative 32. And actually, this moves Joe below Garrick in the standings. Joe now in 3rd place.
Yeah, and Peter now much closer, although all 4 of those top spots are guaranteed into B1. But if Peter is able to make more ground specifically on Joe, we'll certainly feel better about being able to hold on to one of those top spots. Something
Absolutely.
important to remember about these B2 pools, about the Beta League, is that they are only playing 20 Hanchan of regular season. The final session, the 6th session, will be playoffs to determine where people out of this new Beta League go. So they have slightly less time than other tables you'll hear us talk about.
Yeah, big move for Peter, moving from the playoff spot into, well, currently one of the guaranteed slots. We'll wait and see how this the last few games here go, and then of course the next session. But put himself in good position, and Matthew had gotten a 3rd, is still in reasonable position to move forward here. That 3rd is not the end of the world.
And of course, that 2nd for Brett is movement in the correct direction.
Still a little bit more movement necessary. We really want 1st here. So it hurts a little bit to have that stolen away from you in all last after you've gone on an incredible dealer run to claim it. But there's only so much you can do, and had done a really good job in that hand, as it was almost guaranteed that Peter was going to win as soon as the Haku came out. And Brett held on to that Haku for so long, preventing that from coming through.
But then as soon as his hand improved, kind of had no choice.
Right. We're into game number 2. It is going to be Brett, who is our first dealer, has a really nice starting hand, potential for Itsu in the Manzu. Outside of that, you may be making Pihu and potentially Tanya. After drawing that Dora 9 so though, maybe just Itsu with Dora. To the right, we've got Pair of Wests, which is not Yakuhai. Reasonable shapes in the Manzu, but you've got a bunch of edge tiles that are probably going to come out, the 1 and 9 Mon, as well as the 9 pin and the 1 pin. Across the table, we've got good Pinhu shapes and no Dora, so it looks like reach Pinhu. And to the left, we've got reasonable Pinhu shapes as well. So very similar hands across and to the left.
Ooh, an interesting decision for Brett now. What do you discard with that hand?
You don't really want to drop Dora here. Do you want to give your Itsu chance? Confirms the pair for now and says, I'll make the decision later. If I draw a 2 or 8 Mon, I'll go for the Itsu and maybe drop the Dora shape. If I draw towards the Dora, then I will give up on the Itsu.
Yeah, getting that pure straight in Mon would be really nice. Getting some value right out of the gate. Same reason you don't really want to drop the 7-9.
Yeah, it also gives you some calling options. If necessary, you need to speed up the hand. You can call the 2 and call the 8. and make it cheaper, but beat your hand.
Brett taking the 789 chi, just like you were saying, and I'm laughing a little bit on the inside as well, because we might see Brett end up Atazuke being only able to win on the Tumon. Although I guess there's probably not going to be a two-sided weight here. This is a closed weight, so
Perfect way to do it.
We'll have it confirmed. Will not be Atazuke. But I've seen Brett win many an open full straight, so I'm kind of laughing internally at the hand Brett's put together here.
It's funny, Brett went the greedy route and discarded the nice 5-6 Yamen, waiting to incorporate the Dora, but it's Matthew across the table who finds Tenpai for the Pinfu that we'd mentioned. Just Riichi Pinfu. No Dora, no Sanshoku here. But there's a chance at Uda.
Yeah, waiting on the 3-pin and 6-pin. As you can, we see we see 6 currently on the table, 3 in the discards, 3 in hand. So there are 2 more in the wall for Matthew to draw.
This is Tenpai for Peter, should he choose to accept it, and does not. I think I would have pushed at least the 5 mon there, as that's Nakasuji.
Yeah,
for Chitoi Tenpai.
With the 2 mon and the 8 mon discarded, that makes the 5 look safer. As Nathaniel said, called Nakasuji. So usually the only Suji safer than Nakasuji is a terminal Suji tile.
I wonder if that would have been a win, as the 6-mon came out closely after. I think the 6-mon may have found its way into the hand to the right, though. So Brett calling the 2-mon, pushing for that value, still playing a little bit safe, though. Well, in these Pinzu tiles, 2-5 Suji is not safe. And for that reason, Brett decides this hand's a little bit too far away to push. It starts to fold. But it was nice to see Brett pushing a little bit on the dealership.
Oh yeah, trying to get the points necessary, especially when you're in Brett's position. Like, you need every cent you can get. And on the not quite the last tile, but the second to last, we get the sumo.
So reach Sumo Pinfu for 2,700, and you get the Riichi stick back. And Matthew is the one who pulls off to the early lead.
But it's not a big one, so everyone could still overturn this with one hand pretty easily.
And we move on to East 2 with Joe's dealership. It will be a reasonable starting hand. You've got a lot of inside tiles, and you're hoping to be able to make Tanyao here. There's maybe an outside chance in Ipeko and the Manzu. To the right, we've got Tanyao tiles as well. This looks less like Pinfu when you've got the 2, 4, 6, 8 shape in So perhaps you're willing to call for just the Tanyao. And across the table, we've got some awkward shapes. I kind of like the 2, 3, 3, 4 pin shape, but you've got so many outside tiles. My first instinct is, can I make a Chanta out of this, or a Junchan? Unfortunately, with that Pinzu shape, you're not likely to do so. So probably just Riichi here. And then to the left, we've got really nice Pinfu shapes. Actually, this is Yanshan 10 for Riichi Pinfu. That 7-mon pickup was huge.
Oh no, it's not quite Ishan 10. Do we have one too many shapes?
Yeah, we've got a few too many, but I think the 2-mon's probably going to come out, and you treat the 4-5-5 as a sequence and use the 3-pin as your, 3-so as your pair. So this is really wide Ishan 10. And Joe kind of improving the shapes a little bit, moving closer to Tanyao.
Matthew calling the chi on the 2, 3, 4, so pushing a Tanyao as well here is now Ishan 10 with that 3-mon pull.
As we mentioned, those shapes were really weak, and so if you have the opportunity to call to fix those, you might be willing to take that. Could have even called that 6-mon there, but I don't mind passing that up and hanging on to the Diankan in the Sozu.
Ooh, that 4-pin's a nice draw.
Joe pulled in a second Dora 1-pin, so you can drop 4-mon, and grab a Pinfu Dora too. but it's Matthew who picked up, filled the Yankan shape, and now is Tenpai on the 6 pin for just fine now.
And the 6 pin could easily come out of Brett's hand.
Absolutely.
Might have to discard away from that shape to enter Tenpai.
You might hang on to the 2 and discard the 5 pin instead, or the 4 mon, thinking that the 1-4 so is more likely to come out than a 4-7 pin or a 3-6 mon. Think about your future weight.
And Joe pulled in the 6 pin, which fit very nicely into the hand, elected to discard the 6-7 mon shape instead of dropping the pair of 4 mon, as you suggested, and ends up immediately backfiring. Would be Tenpai right now, waiting on 1-4-7 so, but
you can see why, right? This is the Sanshoku chance, and draws the 5.
It pays off immediately.
If the 4 comes out, this deals into Sanshoku. That would be a huge hand, but Matthew aware and hangs on to this.
Wow, what a great shift to make.
And this is the second time that we've seen Matthew making a great defensive play like this. Earlier it was hanging on to the dangerous Hatsu tile.
And we also have Peter across the way. I don't know if you said this yet or not, but is waiting on the 5-so and 8-so.
That's a good call. I had not mentioned that, and it looks like that's kind of running thin on tiles. 2 left, it looks like, in the wall.
This 2 pin looks fine, though. We can see all 4 pin from Peter's point of view, so that 2 pin is no chance. Oh, but still not willing to toss it.
Breaks it up and takes the Ishan 10. You can still work your way back to Tenpai. Well, this is the way to do it.
Discards the one of the only safe so tiles, holding on to the 7.
Was 6 pin? I know it was Nakasuji. Was it Genbutsu as well?
There's another 7. Wow.
Wow, we make it to Ryukyoku. That was really impressive from Joe to work that hand around to an incredible Tenpai, but unfortunately doesn't get the huge payout that he was looking for.
Yeah, I'm incredibly impressed with Joe's ability to seek value there. I definitely would have ended up with the cheaper Tenpai, discarding both of the 4 mon as you suggested, and not have gotten that Sanshoku. That was really nice to see.
And well, Joe, not a bad starting hand. You can make Itsu in the Monzu, and outside of that, you can perhaps work this around to Pingfu. It is Matthew to the right who's going for speed, calling the Chun early, is 2 tiles away from Tenpai. Still needs some more blocks, and that 4 mon really helps. Now you've got all the shapes you need. You just are trying to make moderate improvements in these and call your way to Tenpai. Across the table, those shapes look absolutely gorgeous. And this is Ishan 10. Draw a door here, but you've already discarded 1 at the start, so probably not looking to make that your pair. Ideal draw here would be the 3 pin for Peter. But this is Tenpai. Chooses the Dama, waiting right now on the 8 pin, but there's so many weight improvements that we could see a Ricci later on. And it's still the first row, so plenty of time to do that.
I mean, you could, even if you wanted, you could call Pone if someone discards an 8 pin, discard the 9 pin, and still have, be able to win on the 4 pin or the 7. So absolutely. A very flexible hand.
Probably doesn't want to cheapen the hand by opening, even though there's the Ricci stick and the home boss and extra 1,300 points. Because you have the chance to have a 3-sided Ricci weight here. Oh, there's Tenpai for Matthew, waiting on 3 mon, 6 mon for just the 1,000-point hand.
Oh, that's an amazing pull for Joe. Oh, what do you discard? Okay, discards a 7-so to take the headless Ishan 10. There's about 1 million paths to Tenpai for Joe's hand right now.
So many tiles that you can draw. And I guess the ideal would be to pair up the 4 or 5-so so that you have the chance at Itsu. Or just draw into the Itsu directly, but there's only 1 9 mon left. 3 have been discarded.
Yeah, so maybe the ideal really here would be to finish the 4 5-so shape. Ooh, there's the 6.
I'm not sure if Peter will recognize that that's dangerous. Instead, chooses to aim for a Tanyao type Tenpai.
And all of those dangerous tiles in Peter's hand could be incorporated at this point.
Absolutely. Matthew has been discarding basically all the tiles that he's drawn. Switches the weight now, once again. This is another Tenpai, but it's the same situation as the last time. Declares the Riichi. Oh, on the 6th, though. That is definitely the better weight, but it deals into the 1,000 points.
Yeah, had finally gotten a two-sided weight, was able to win on the 5-peen or the 8-peen, but unfortunately just required tossing into Matthew's hand.
Unfortunately, it was an inexpensive hand, and so Matthew starts with a good start. Pairing up the Haku here has the chance to call for a quick hand. There is no Dora, 9 pins, so no value here, but the 9-pin got paired up to the right in Peter's hand, and this is looking to be a little bit more expensive. Riichi Dora 2. If you draw the 3 so, then you can even make Pinfu potentially. Across the table, we've got another Dora as well, and this is looking to be a Pinfu type hand. Pinfu Dora 1 would be great. And to the left, there's a distant Sanshoku 2, 3, 4, but outside of that, you're also aiming for Riichi and potentially Pinfu if you can draw the 8-mon.
And Matthew has called the pawn on the 3-mon, really making the push to hold on to this first dealership, going to go Atazuke, hoping to pull in the Haku later.
Yep, Ishan 10. Call the Haku your Tenpai for the 8 so. Oh, and this widens the Ishan 10. So now you could really pair up anything, but you still need to grab that Haku.
I mean, technically you're Tenpai, but you just can't win.
Right. For a hand that has value, it's Ishan 10. Or sorry, Yaku, it's Ishan 10. And now, even wider, you can draw basically anything in the Pinzu.
Yeah, if you were to get the White Dragon right now, you'd have a pretty gnarly weight.
Oh, it's a little bit of a painful backfire, but there's not much you can do. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
it
the
did
Haku.
look like the right decision.
Comes out, gets called, Tenpai in the 4, 5, 8.
That's neat. If you win on the 5 or the 8, that is your pair, but the 4-peen makes the 3-peen your pair, and then your 2 sequences would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Fun fact, if you Tsumo the 5 or 8, you get... this is the cheaper Tsumo. If you Tsumo it on the 5 or 8, you get 1 in 40 instead of 1 in 30. But regardless, you're still happy with the win there. Decent shapes to start here, too.
From the triplet of 3-peen.
Exactly. Not bad, though. You can draw the Dora 8 so and incorporate it. You still have a lot of honor tiles to discard and see what you draw to replace those. To the right, fast call from Peter with the tunes. Also has the South in hand, so ready to go fast and furious. Has an 8 so as well. Would like to build around that for 3-han or more hand. Of course, ideally, you'd pair that up and make a Mongon. Across the table, there's also a Dora 8 so and extremely good shapes, including a Haku pair. But if you could, your shapes are so good, you could draw this yourself and have a really nice, potentially 3-sided weight. Although with that pair of 6-mon, that 3-sided weight seems less likely. To the left, it looks like a pretty average hand. You're hoping to just make Riichi here.
Peter has been kind of leaving options open. Now, the first middle discard was that 5 so, leaving the option open even for Chanta here to get even more value. Has a lot of pairs, could still make this a toy, although would be racing against Brett, who is Ishan 10 for toy.
Yeah, very interesting. Brett is Tenpai now, waiting on the 2-pin 9-mon. Had a decision earlier to discard some of those pairs and hang on to the Dora, or drop the Dora and commit to Toy Toy. And I know Brett loves going for Toy Toy, so I was not surprised to see the Dora cut. And it's worked out great.
And that was an interesting cut from Peter. Has discarded, of all of the pairs, decided to discard the 1-so rather than discarding the 7-peen. Oh, and now has Tenpai waiting Champon on the 7-peen or the Dora 8-so.
Yeah, interesting. One of the 8-so's already out. So if Brett draws the last one, probably just throw it right back.
Oh, God, look at Matthew's hand.
Oh, my. That's a lot of pairs. And you could use the 7-8-9 as an Ipeco as well. Starts with the East.
Yeah, if you draw the... that's Chi-Toy.
Yeah, you could drop the 9 here. Takes the Tenpai. Waiting on the 5-mon.
And you're Ishan 10 for a normal hand as well.
Absolutely. You could draw one of your 6-pin or 7-so. Draw an Anko there. Or you could draw 3 6-mon. Oh, there's a Con of...
No, that makes the 4-mon Dora, which Matthew has 2 of in hand. And Joe has 1 of in hand. And Joe just entered Tenpai waiting on the 5-peen and the 8-peen.
So Joe will make a 2,000-point hand, but Matthews has now turned into 9,600 Dama.
Oh, no! Didn't need to discard that! You could have held on to the Dora! Oh, no!
And this is going to be a Mongon hit instead, and Peter grabs first place right back for the second game in a row. As we head into East 4, we're still early on in this game. Oh my, what a swing.
Yeah, and this is where it is really important to kind of keep track of what you have in hand. Could have discarded the 7-so, which was perfectly fine, and kept that Dora. Then you would have had Ipeco Dora, and you could win Dama because of the Ipeco, and that's really worth more than Chi-Toy with no Dora. Or I guess you had Dora 2 already, so either way, you end up with a Mongon.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, so Chi-Toy, you had 2 Dora. If you keep the 8, so then you have 2 more Dora. That's a Hanemon. The discard was so fast. I wonder if Matthew had auto discard on?
Oh, that's very possible, because it was immediate.
It also could have been one of those things where the 2 tiles were next to each other, the tile you just drew and the 9-so, so it could have also just been a misclick.
Regardless, how Peter has an amazing starting hand.
Oh, this is gorgeous. I love, I don't like seeing lots of pairs, but when those pairs can make normal sequences, then I'm a big fan. And, well, let's skip quickly over to the left because there's a Call of the Hatsu, and you've got Honitsu brewing here. Honitsu even Chanta potential. Across the table, we also have a Honitsu. The Chun gets called, and the Honitsu this time is in the Sozu, which is the Dora suit. We see 1 Dora in hand, so this is Mongon already for Joe, which would be a really nice pickup at 29,000 points right now. Could even grab first place with a Tsumo.
Matthew is abandoning the Chanta route to go with that Honitsu by Chiing the 6-mon.
Okay, just trying to find Tenpai as quickly as possible, and
this 3-so
needs to because Joe got there so quickly. June Honitsu Dora 1 will take 8,000 points from Brett and tie for first place currently.
And as a reminder, in the ARML, ties are treated just as ties. It's not like ladder where whoever is closest to first dealer gets the placement. In this case, when you tie with somebody, you split the UMA for the 2 placements. So in this case, the 20 UMA that first and second would get with 2 people being above 30k would be split between the 2 players, and Joe would get 10 UMA and Peter would get 10 UMA.
Now, of course, we don't necessarily expect to see a tie into all last, but if the game were to end right now, that would certainly be the case. And well, the game has moved on to Brett's dealership in South, has the Ankh of South Wind, so there's already a Yaku here. You can Ricci with South would be excellent. If you could draw a Dora 6-so to accompany your 4-so, then you're looking really good as far as value is concerned.
Ooh, but draws the East.
So now Ishan 10 for a relatively expensive hand. A Champon Wait on the east is also pretty good. Although here's that door. Now you have to make a decision.
Yeah, you could discard the 2-peen, 3-peen.
Hang on to the ability to call. Instead, chooses to discard the pair. Might even call here, grabs the east. So now you can wait Tonki on Dora in the future, potentially. Yeah, if your plan there is to call the east, then dropping 2, 3, or 4, 6 is a little bit more efficient, because once you do make the call, you will be Tempai. The benefit of this, though, is you have the Yamen wait still, and you can, if you draw another Dora, you can have Mongon.
Well, and now with drawing the 7-so, you can incorporate Dora even if it doesn't become your pair.
You can use both Yamen shapes if you drop the Southwind. You don't really want to, though. We'll see what Brett chooses to do here.
Well, draws the 8-so, so now is going to choose to do the pair weight on the 2-peen.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. You've already got 3 Han with the South, and actually that being an Anko, your Fu is increased. So 3 and 40 is 7,700, and you definitely want to grab that over a measly 2,900 point hand.
Now, the problem is the Pinzu are being pretty heavily used by everyone around the table.
Would ideally like to switch that 2-pin weight to something else, perhaps. Looking around the table, you can see that not a lot of Pinzu have been discarded, so you're sort of suspecting that Pinzu is expensive in the other hands.
Each.
Oh, and there's the Ricci.
Oh no, and it's a Ricci on the 2-pin itself. So if Brett draws a better tile, that will deal in.
The problem is with Pinzu looking so scary, I feel like the 2-peen probably stays in hand unless a scarier Pinzu comes up.
Brett has so much value. If you draw, for example, another Dora, you might want to feel the pressure to greed for the Bongon.
Well, I don't know. Drawing a Dora in this case might not be too dangerous, really. This would be a better weight.
Oh, you're right. The 6-9 weight is actually not strong at all, given the discards. Oh, do you take the Nobetan weight?
Don't.
Does.
Does.
So this is just Ricci, but there's an Ura to make it a little bit more expensive. And that's really unfortunate for Brett, who could have used that hand. That hand would have been really expensive.
Well, and to Brett's credit, there were no Monzu in Joe's discards either. The Monzu really didn't look any better than the Pinzu. I mean, the Pinzu looked better in the table as a whole, but Joe had only discarded honors and so tiles.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, since Pinzu was also lacking in the discards, maybe the other players are holding the tiles around that 2-pin, and it's actually safe from the Ricci. You don't really know. And so in that scenario where nothing looks good, then just from a purely offensive perspective, picking the better weight seems to make sense. And it looks like, well, Joe's our new dealer in South 2, has a couple good shapes, had just chosen to discard the pair of Norths early, and immediately gets punished by drawing the third North. I think in that situation, I might have held on to the pair, even though it's not your value, and even though you have several other pairs, just because some of those pairs can be used in other ways. Like the 3-pin pair could turn into Ipeco 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and similarly, you could draw the 2-so and make a 1, 2, 3 shape there as well. But to the right,
perhaps you might be thinking that it's going to be harder to end up with a good Pinfu hand with so many terminal pairs and really wanting to get more value. Although it is currently in first, so it's not like Joe specifically needs a lot of value.
Yeah, but it is tight with second place only a couple thousand points behind. And there's a Southwind. Matthew on the right chose not to call it. I feel like this is the third time we've seen Matthew not choosing to call a South pair. Now, the value here isn't really there. It would just be, well, actually, it's double South Door 1, so there's enough to move you over 30K. It's actually on the left, Brett with an early Tempai waiting on 2-5 Mon, just for the Hatsu only.
And there's actually only one more of those left in the wall. We see 5 2-mon and 5-mon in people's hands and 2 already in the discard. So only one tile left for Brett to draw. Brett's going to need somebody to discard useful tiles away from their hand.
Yeah, they're pretty solidly locked up in hand too, because Peter across the table is looking to make a 1-2-3 Ipeco. So that guarantees the 2 mon is locked up there. The 5s are being used as sequences in Matthew's hand, and the 5 is being used as a sequence in Joe's hand. So unlikely to see that come out, even though it's a really strong weight. Interesting. Matthew choosing to play efficiency over value, discarding the 7-5 shape. Although if you're thinking about value, how far away was Sanshoku 5-6-7?
Ooh, there's the
Oh,
2-mon. That's
No.
not useful. Joe drew the last 2-mon and deals into Brett's 1,000 point hand.
yeah, if that was in the dead wall, probably would have gone to Brett. Probably would have been able to win the hand. But the last 2-mon was in the wall. It didn't fit in anyone's hand. So we move on to South 3. It is Matthew's dealership trying to climb over 30K. Has a reasonable starting hand, although you've got 2 penchant in the Pinzu. I guess you can discard the 9-pin and try to make Ricci here. You can also incorporate the Dora 3-mon because you've got a 4 floater. To the right, this hand looks a little bit better as far as shapes are concerned, and even outside chance at a 5-6-7 Sanshoku. Hoping to make Ricci here, and you could even in the future drop the 9-mon pair and make Tanya as well. Across the table, these shapes look a little bit, well, they look very good, but you've got 3 floating honor tiles, and so we'll wait to see what those get replaced with. But you're hoping to make a standard Ricci hand here with a Dora, incorporating the Dora, hopefully.
Ooh,
To the left.
there's the shape. Peter just drew in a great tile for that Sanshoku you were talking about. Is now Ishan 10 for the 5-6-7 Sanshoku.
Yeah, it could end up on a Shampoo weight, but if you draw one of those paired up shapes and you've got your 2-sided 5-8 pin weight. The hand on the left is kind of getting close to Tempai.
Ricci.
Looks to be, oh, well, speaking of Tempai, that's Matthew, who declares Ricci with a 3-sided 3-6-9 mon weight. 3 or 6 will give Tanya, and the 3 would be Dora as well. So Ricci with potential Tanya. Oh, Ippatsu Tsumo. Well, this is going to be huge. Ricci, Ippatsu Tsumo, Tanya, Dora gets all the value. Will we see Ura? Oh, it would have been a Hanuman, but it is still an incredible pickup for Matthew. 12,000 points. And this actually jumps Matthew all the way to first place.
Yeah, it drops neither of Joe or Peter below 30K, though. So we are now in the situation where Brett in last would have to take a -20 UMA hit if Brett is not able to either drag someone down below 30K or get above 30K himself.
And Matthew just continuing with good hands. Look at this high pie. You've got the Chun pair and the South pair and a Dora as well. Might even be thinking about incorporating that Dora in some type of Chanta, although that's a bit far away at the moment, and you're not necessarily trying to force that, as you've got enough value to claim a fast win. Speaking of Dora, looking at the hand on the left, there's a pair of 8-mon in there right now, and you could make Tanya Dora 2 or 3. So
And I bet if a 8-mon were to come out, we would probably see it immediately get called and head that way to try and make it faster. Although, having that complete 1-2-3 shape might dissuade Joe a little bit from calling. Oh,
yeah, I do think, though, that you would call that, even having drawn the 1. Just there's so much value in that you get a Mongon. And here's the 8. We'll see if Joe makes that call.
And unfortunately for Brett drew the other Chun and is now going to be stuck in this situation where Brett has a pair of Chun and Matthew has a pair of Chun, but Matthew already has the Yakuhai. So that Chun's probably just going to end up being Matthew's pair.
Yeah, advantage Matthew in this Mochi Mochi situation. And now that Brett has called, we have that awkward situation where Brett will almost guaranteed never be able to win. Tempai for Matthew on the 2-pin for South only.
An Onko of which are in Peter's hand, so only 1 2-pin left in the wall.
Interesting. And earlier we saw Joe passing up that call on the 8-mon, now finds Tempai waiting on just the 4-mon, declines the Ricci for now. Hoping to improve that weight. Of course, you get value upgrade if you draw some of the lower mons, so you can make Ipeco potentially.
no way to get to Pinfu.
It's a little
Yeesh.
awkward because you have enough value to fight for your hand, and I think Joe realized that, chooses to take the reach now that we've entered a little bit more towards the middle of the second row. Now this puts a lot of pressure on Matthew, who broke Tempai actually after that Ricci.
Kung.
Yeah, pretty immediately without thinking. And now we see the Khan of the 7-so revealing the 9-mon as the new Dora, which there is one of in Brett's hand and none anywhere else. And now we have Tempai for Peter waiting on the 4-so and 7-so.
Can you fight with these Monzu tiles, though? They look scary. We don't see any Monzu in Joe's discards. But Peter feels like this is the time to fight, especially because Peter wants to claim second place, and that's your direct competitor who's declared Ricci.
The only issue here is the 7-so is what Joe conned. And drawing the 6-mon, Peter kind of gives up the ghost there.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Had the 2 Mon been retained and you had discarded, the Sosu shape earlier, you'd actually be Tempai right now in the 4-7. Well, 1-4-7, but one would not be able to win.
The 7-mon is safe, I believe. The 8-pin is safe as well, but I'm pretty sure that 7-mon was discarded after Joe's Ricci. So could have kept the Ishanten, but does not.
Oh, you're right. The 7-mon was discarded, and that would have been a Furiten weight. As it is, you can take Tempai here with a Furiten weight.
And now the 4-pin is Nakasuji, so Peter can get back into Tempai.
Does choose to fight.
Waiting on the 2-mon and 5-mon.
All the 2s are gone. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the 5s are gone. So you actually can't win here. But there are 6 draws left. Can you make it to Tempai? North is cut before, so it's reasonably safe. Brett just needs to bail. You get one more draw. Ooh, 6. That's Nakasuji. Let's push it. And we should find Yukioku here. Peter and Joe winning big here. And Matthew paying out 1,500 means we've got an extremely tight race for first place in South 4 now.
In Peter's dealership. And there are 2 Honda and 1 Ricci stick on the table. So there's 1,600 points in the middle. So let's see. The distance from Joe, because if Peter wins, obviously there's a repeat. So we don't really need to consider the low value possibility from Peter. But if Joe wins a 1,000 point hand, that'd be 2,600 points, which is enough. So Joe can take first with any 1-han hand.
Yeah, Joe, Matthew, and of course Peter as well can all take the first place position. Of course, as you said, Peter would get a repeat, but it's still nice to have that spot. And there is incentive to speed up your hand because your opposition is going to be trying to be going quickly. Now that you've drawn the Hatsu pair, you might be incentivized to even go Atsuzuke here.
Yeah, knowing that anybody can grab first other than Brett with a quick hand, I mean, Brett's going to be forced to kind of slog it for a little bit here. If I'm Brett, I might... If I could figure out what to feed Peter before Peter gets Tenpai to help Peter get there, I mean, Brett would almost like to be Peter's assistant here. Have Peter knock somebody down a peg for a little bit so that it makes your job overtaking third a little bit friendlier.
Yeah, Brett's got kind of a difficult hand to put together, but it has a chance at Sanshoku 567 with a Dora 5-mon. It's across the table. Joe, who's got extremely good shapes. And this is actually Ishanten for Pinfu. Potentially even Tanyao. Oh, but to the left, this is Tempai.
Oh,
Matthew found Tempai for Junchan.
Yeah.
He dropped the 4-pin.
Oh god, I would totally Dama this.
Oh wait.
But dealt and lost the Junchan with it.
Yeah, I did not see the 4-pin discard. And you could Dama for sure. And Peter almost playing super passive here. Drew a pair of Haku and chooses discard that. You already have enough shapes. So you didn't really need it. Oh, and there's a third
Reachy.
Threemon.
But if it's in the hand, yeah, that's good. That's a Reachy.
It's not the Sanshoku he wanted, but choosing to just grab what points you can find.
You need to sumo a Baimon if you are Brett. And so, I mean, that is Dora 1. Oh, God, and now we have a third Reachy!
A three-way Reachy here. It's a 1-4 wait for Joe, who's looking for just Reachy only, but potential Tanya on the 4-pin. And man, it's just a luck of the draw at this point. 1-4 is not looking good. It's just the 4 that would win. And actually, 4s are dead unless Peter chooses to discard one.
Oh man! And now Peter would have to discard. What would you discard?
Hatsu is fine.
Oh yeah, Hatsu is fine. You have Tanya now.
Instead, believes that the Hatsu will come out. It won't, because it's locked away in Brett's hand, and it truly is just luck of the draw at this point. Oh, there's the 5.
There's the 5.
We'll deal into Brett. So that's actually enough, because of the Dora, to...
No. Matthew stays above 30k. Brett really needed Ura there and did not get it.
Yeah, that's enough to give Hypera the lead, though. And this, Brett can't be terribly upset. I mean, you're in 4th. You were probably never getting out of that. With 2 players going Reachy and fighting you, you just grab the points that you can get. And moving up to 20,000 isn't terrible, but obviously you wanted it better from that game. And it's Peter who will be extremely pleased with stealing first by 400 points.
Yeah, Peter was in such a rough situation. Might have had to push dangerous tiles to hold on to Tempai to avoid falling to 3rd, but with Matthew dealing in, was saved from that fate.
Joe grabs 2nd and earns plus 9.4. Matthew, with his positive 3rd place, will still finish above 0.
And I mean, Brett, this has to be the highest scoring minus 20 Uma 4th we've seen all league. Like, all 3 of the players above 30k are under 35k.
Yeah, it's extremely tight there. So kind of unlucky for Brett, but certainly has interesting implications in the standings as Joe still retains that 3rd spot, but Peter's moving closer. And Matthew also moving a little bit closer to one of those guaranteed B1 spots. Only about 27 points outside of that range. And so they'll play 2 more games, but I think we will switch gears to another match that should have started already.
This will also be from the Beta League. This is in B2, but it is going to be Group B instead of Group A, or Pool B rather, instead of Pool A. And this is going to feature Carl, Alec, Travis, and Jason.
I'm excited to see this table. We've seen Carl. We've seen all of these players at least once, but Carl's deal-in rate has been noted to be incredibly low, and so I'm curious to see if Carl's been able to maintain that low deal-in rate, or if that has increased a little bit in the game that has been going on so far. And hopefully we don't get the classic commentator's curse and just see deal-in after deal-in, but I'm really excited to see this play. I remember watching Carl play earlier in the season, near the beginning of the league, and thinking that his play is quite strong. And I believe the deal-in rate was something like just over 2%, which is just totally insane.
At the time of the mid-season hype review cross whatever show, I believe it was 2.6%.
Just insanity.
Yeah, I was incredibly jealous. There was a point in time when I was first in Jade Room, although I've dropped out now, but when I was first in Jade Room, that Akko-chan site that keeps track of Mahjong Soul stats.
Sure.
I wasn't trying to win games and was just trying to minimize my deal-in rate for the fun of it. So I'm pretty jealous of this 2% deal-in.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable to imagine you've gone over 12 games, I believe. I think we're in game number 15, if I'm not mistaken, for this table. And to only have dealt in 2% of your hands is crazy. And looks like we're right into things here. It is Alec, who is our dealer, and currently in the lead with 38,000 points.
Although this is a very tight game we've walked in on. And
Yeah.
Alec and Carl are jockeying for position at the top here.
Absolutely. We see Carl to the right with 25,000 points. And across the table, that looks like Jason. And to the left, we have Travis.
Oh, wow. Jason across the table has, I mean, has an Ishan 10 for Itsu for pure straight. If you draw the 9-mon, the 2-pin, or the 5-pin, you would be Tenpai for a pure straight there. The Dora is the 2-mon, and the fact that it uses the Dora is very handy.
Absolutely. And drawing the 7-pin, now you've got a wider Ishan. Oh, you draw the 2-pin right after you drop it. Well, he wouldn't have drawn that. There was a call that was made. The turn order got switched. It's okay.
Oh, but look at this. We have the Haku and the Chun on the left for Travis. Oh, there's Tenpai. Discarded Itsu, and you have Pinfu, Itsu, Richi, Dora 1.
Yeah, if you can get the 9-pin, please 9-pin. Ippatsumo 9-pin. If you're
9-mon. Don't Ippatsumo the 9-pin. That'll be combo. Right. Don't do it.
Carl wants the 9-pin for that Honitsu hand. But yeah, 9-mon is the one he's looking for.
Oh, and then you see one tucked away in a chi. That's always upsetting.
Yeah, it's only 2 left in the wall. Of course, 3 and 6 you'll take the road. But or the Tsumo. Yeah, getting close.
We have battling Honitsus on the left and right. A Manzu Honitsu now for Travis on the left, and Carl on the right has a Pinzu Honitsu.
Travis building the Itsu the hard way. Waiting for that 3-mon, and also, of course, one of those dragons. Ooh, don't need the 3-pin here. Can you cut it? I think you have to. You've got the value to go for this. 1-pin should be fairly safe, as you can see all the 2s. The 1-pin might have been discarded after. Alec kind of working on a Tanyao hand, but just isn't super close to that. 4-pin comes out.
Dora for Travis on the left.
So maybe not getting the Itsu here. You'd probably choose the doorway because you don't really want to drop that against a Richi, except for the fact that the 5 came out and it's Tsuji now.
Carl just got Tenpai waiting on the 8-pin and the Chun.
See, the only winning tile is going to be the 8-pin, and there is only one in the wall.
Because the Chun are locked up in Travis's hand.
One guaranteed to be safe, and you draw into the door, so this is Tenpai for Travis.
Oh no! The Haku would deal in!
Can you find another safe tile?
Oh boy!
5-mon is safe against the Richi, but...
It's in the Honitsu suit.
Oh, yeah, picks the right tile! 3 guaranteed tiles of safety.
I love that Forso discard. You can see a Pinzu Honitsu, or, I mean, really on the right, it looks like probably a Chinitsu. That looks like a full flush. On the left, you have a Honitsu in the Dora suit. So, I mean, the Forso really does look like a great tile.
Carl give up on this hand? He does choose to.
There's that deal-in rate coming into play.
It's almost like Carl can see what the other players have in their hands. North. 4 came out earlier, so that's safe. Alec now can see that the 5 safe. Only 6 draws left in the wall. Where is the last Haku?
Sumo.
Oh, there's the 3, though. Finally, the Sumo. That took an eternity to come into hand.
Absolutely. And things got so scary with the hand on the left. Yakuhai Honitsu Dora 3 was Hanemon. Oh my goodness, Alex got a great starting hand, but the dealer is to the right. I gotta talk about this Honitsu though. You've got the Haku pair, the East pair. We're not in the East round, but now the Chun pair, and you have a Hatsu. Could be Shosangen, could be Daisangen, could be just Honitsu Dora 2. Honitsu Yakuhai 2. That hand has so much potential.
The Haku is closed.
Oh my, how greedy do you want to be?
There's the Chun.
Okay, Hatsu discard would be Tenpai.
Alex really thinking about it. Yeah.
He wanted it, but with one Hatsu discarded, decided just to grab. Also, perhaps in South 3, being in first place with a guaranteed Mongon, choosing to play it straightforward, but oh my. We've seen greed pay off before.
Yeah, the very first Yakuman of the Beta League was a Daisangan, and the person who won it, Aaron, actually passed a Ron before before winning the Daisangan because he was so determined to get the Yakuman.
That was an incredible finish to that game as well. And I know that one. Oh, there's the 3, but that's going to stay in hand. I know that game well because I was playing in there. I got 4th.
I feel like I've brought that game up every time we've broadcast together, Nathaniel. I'm sorry for bringing up bad memories.
The pain, you just want to kind of rub that in. No, it's that was Beta League. That's all beyond us now.
But we do see dealer Carl is getting closer to Tempai here. The 3-peen just not being drawn by anybody other than the one that already fit into Jason's hand on the right.
Yeah, this hand has potential for Tanyao Pinfu now. You can drop if you draw the 6-pin, then you can discard 6-so, 9-so.
Ooh, I like this is an upgrade for Alec. Oh no, the 3-peen can't be used.
No. So there's finally a deal in for Carl. It was in a situation that you could, of course, not predict.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, this is a very painful one.
Alec had discarded no Manzu.
And yeah, if anything, you're thinking Honitsu, Manzu Honitsu. And here we go, South 4. 3 players really close to 30k, including our current dealer who's just outside that range, but has a really nice starting hand. He's on 10 already.
Oh, wow. This is absolutely amazing. I mean, this could even slide towards Chanta.
I could even see you passing up on a Haku call. I mean, I know 1,500 points would move you over 30k and you get a dealer repeat, but I would even pass up the first one. And now a decision for Travis on the right. Do you call the South? That is double Yakuhai and would guarantee that you're going to stay over 30k.
Yeah, this is kind of an awkward situation for Travis where your hand does not have enough value as is to overtake first, but with third place being dealer and being so tight, I feel like I would be rushing and calling the double South.
I feel the same. Yeah, you can always find a pair somewhere else later. I do like trying to confirm second place just because it's going to be really hard to, with the current gap of 13.1. Across the table, it is Alec who could go Toy, could go Honitsu. We'll wait and see. You do have a Dora in the Honitsu suit, and chooses to call that instead.
Yeah, still doesn't have to commit to the Honitsu here, and doesn't.
Could just go Hatsudora 1. You don't need all the value in the world. Oh, interesting choice from Travis here. Sorry, this is Jason that we're looking at as dealer. Choosing to discard the 3-mon, aiming for Ipeco or even Honitsu. And of course, immediately gets the backfire. Could have had Riichi with a 3-sided weight at this point. I guess since the 9-pin has, you can see all of those, it would just be 2-sided, really. In fact, you'd probably choose the Shampong weight. But that is beside us now. Choosing not to hang on to the 2-pin, so it doesn't look like a Honitsu commit. To the left.
His hand's sort of agonizing to try and figure out what to build.
Yeah, if you draw the, say, the last 8-pin, you could even aim for Sananko.
We do now have Alec enter Tempai. Forso was discarded, and then Alec drew the Hatsu and is now waiting on the Forso and the 8-mon.
Continues to hang on to that weight. The 8-mon is Tsuji trapped. As we see a 5-mon in the discards.
Although I don't think the only person who might be paying attention to that would be Travis on the right, as everyone else has to push. I mean, Carl obviously has to push in last, and Jason has to push to get over 30k. And this will be Tempai. waiting on the 2-mon, the 6-peen, or the 9-peen. And as you said, the 9-peen's already gone. We see 2 of the 6-peen in the discards and 1 in Carl's hand. And we see all of the 2-mon are in people's hands currently.
Oh, chance to call him. Does so, draws the 7. Draws that right back. The new Dora is the 1-mon, and we see, well, none of those are being used.
I think, I do wonder. I would have been tempted to discard an 8-peen.
Oh, I agree. The temptation there is extremely strong. The 2-mon does come out, and either way it would have been a Roan, whether you discard one or the other. So 2,000 points for Jason, who climbs over 30k, climbs into second, and we get to go again.
And you mentioned the commentator's curse. Carl has dealt in twice since we showed up at this table. The one was to the most ninja-like Honitsu I've ever seen. And the other was, and you're in last place and all last, and you have no choice but to push. So can't hold those against Carl at all.
Absolutely. And Carl hasn't really found himself in last place very frequently. And so we haven't had to, they haven't had to push for points in this situation. Maybe that explains partly why the dealing rate is so low. And my goodness.
For Jason right off the bat. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but Chitoy just makes me so excited.
And with a Dora as well, you have the 8-stone hand, so you can pair of those, and you're looking at 96 Dama, or a Mangan with Reach, or potentially Hanuman. Who chooses to call. The shapes seem okay for that.
Shapes.
Oh. Discard 6-pin, not even thinking about. Toy just wants to make a normal hand here.
I still would have discarded the Haku first. I mean, I don't see a reason to abandon the Toy prematurely.
Yeah, probably thinking that it's going to be hard to call the 7. So given that it is the Dora indicator, and so there's only one left to begin with, not to mention, because it's the Dora indicator, other people will likely be using that to incorporate the Dora into their hands. However, you can still hedge your bets and discard the Haku first. And now the Haku comes out, perhaps hanging on to the 7, so in the hopes of drawing a second Dora.
But is Ishan 10 regardless? And now we have a Dora coming into Alex's hand, although it's in kind of an awkward shape.
Yeah, you might even see a push for Itsu here. Nope, the 9 comes out. Keeping the floating 4-mon, hoping to eventually draw around the Manzu tiles.
Travis is Ishan 10. Oh, that's Tempai for Travis for Ipeco, and is going to call the Ricci. That would overtake. You're winning on the 3-mon. Again, this is a situation where I would have dominated. Ipeco's just 1 Han, but that 1 Han plus the Honba in the middle would have been plenty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just barely enough, actually. 1,300. Oh, well, you have 1 in 40, so it would have been slightly more than that. And we find Jason grabs Tempai 2 with the Champon 3-mon, 9-mon weight. Of course, the 3-mon is also would deal into the hand to the right. Travis is winning tile.
Now the issue is here, I don't really see anybody dealing in on the 3-mon. I mean, I guess if Carl were to draw the final 3-mon, maybe. But Alec can use the 3-mon, and the 3-mon that's currently in Carl's hand is being used.
Carl's hand just so far away, has not gotten anywhere. At this point, you might just fold, honestly.
Oh, there's the 9-mon. That's a sumo for Jason.
So dealership will continue. 1,300 all. So plus 39, plus the reach stick. And now with a comfortable second place.
Yeah. And this is another reason why I might not call Ricci on that last hand. Now 8,600 points, you would still be 200 points behind Jason. So that 8,600, if you were to call Ron on either Alec or Carl with a Mongon, would not be enough to get you second. Whereas if you don't throw that Ricci stick in this scenario where Jason gets the sumo win, you would still be able to call Mongon Ron on anybody at the table to overtake second.
And even if you don't end up with a hand to make Mongon, even just grabbing a 1,000 point hand would have been enough for you to grab score over 30k. As it is, 1 Han isn't going to be enough. because 1,000 plus the 1,600 Honba moves you to 29.7, which is just shy. So you need 1 in 40 here, or 2 Han hand. Although it looks like the 2 Han hand is quite doable, as you've already created an Ipeko. And so you have a chance at Ipeko Pinfu.
Although we do have, I mean, Jason's hand once again is moving along quite nicely. Already Ishan 10.
My goodness. Potential Pinfu here as well. And can anybody fight? I mean, the hand on the right's excellent. Also, Ishan 10 with super wide weight. Oh, you draw Dora. It doesn't quite fit, but we'll hang on to it for now. If you pair that up, then you have Tenpai for Tanyao Dora, Tanyao Ipeko Dora 2, which is Mangan.
I would have been tempted to discard the 3-pin there.
This is on the left is technically Tenpai. Chooses not to take it. It would just be waiting on the 5-pin. And the value is not really there. It would just be Richidora 1. So aiming for something a little bit better.
Yeah, really, if you're Carl, you really want to create a hand that's going to overtake Travis.
Gap of 20,000 places a bit. Now this is a Tenpai, but chooses not to take that one either. So that would have been Richidora 1 with the Richi Pinfu Dora 1, but looking for more.
I mean, the only way you're going to reliably take third with that is if you get a direct hit on Travis, and if you call Ricci, you can almost guarantee that won't happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking that perhaps if you're fighting for Tanyao Pinfu, you maybe drop the 9. So instead of the 8, but it looks like aiming for a different route. 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku is what I'm thinking that Carl's trying to make here. Going for a Hanuman. So if you drop the 9, the pair of 9s in your hand, you'd have Richi Pinfu Tanyao Dora, which if you'd sumo and get an Ura would be Hanuman. Still not quite enough to overtake though.
A Hanuman sumo would be 15,000 points plus the 2 Honba. That would be a net gain of 15,800, which is enough.
Oh, I misread the score to the right. They have the same score numbers 128, 281, but I sort of transposed those in my head. And Jason, who's been Ishan 10 for a long time, super wide weight, hasn't been able to find Tenpai.
Yeah, actually would have had Tenpai right then had he held on to the 6-mon.
Across the table, Alex fighting for Honitsu.
Home.
Can call the north.
Ishan 10 now.
Really had to think about discarding that west. We don't see any anywhere, but I mean it's only a Yakuhai for Alec himself. So finally Tenpai, or no, yeah, this is Tenpai for Jason. Going Dama, waiting for the 2-pin and the 5-pin.
Pinzu looks so expensive here. But I wouldn't hate throwing in the reach stick, even though there's only a few winning tiles left, just for the sumo chance. Nine is safe. We see it in the discard pool for Alec, so I don't mind throwing that. And is this finally Tenpai for Carl? After fighting so hard, you do have Tanyao Pinfu Dora.
A direct hit Mangan would be enough on Travis.
Home.
There's no end to the greed here. Oh, this is Tenpai. 8. It is for the 3.
I do think you have to pass this Tuso, though, from Jason.
Yes. So Carl will not take the Roan there. Carl, greeting for Sanshoku, wanted to draw the 5-mon. Instead, the 5-mon enters Jason's hand. And Travis on the right couldn't find Tenpai either.
Alec, though, waiting on the 3-pin, which, if Travis does find Tenpai, could easily be the tile that comes out.
You can call this for Tenpai, and he does read that correctly.
Well,
no, that's not quite Tenpai, sorry.
That's just wanted to be Tenpai. Discard a safe tile.
Yeah. So I did not read that correctly, but this 4 as Jason could go no 10 here.
Yeah, take a purposeful no 10, preserve your second. Oh, do you take the? Yeah, I mean that wouldn't have changed positions, but like, okay, if you're Carl here, you see that Tuso come out. If you have an inkling that Jason discarding from hand, you probably assume Jason was already Tenpai. If Jason's discarding from hand, that feels to me like an exit, like you are exiting Tenpai to preserve the second place here. So I feel almost like you take that Mangan since it was the last tile, and at the very least, you're able to get yourself above 20k, get 8 more points.
Yeah, I think even with even if you thought Jason was maintaining Tenpai, there's an argument to be made to take that Roan, just because you get Haite as well.
You know what's wild though? If Carl does that, it hurts Carl because the only person at this table he's in direct competition with is Alec. So you would hit Jason for 8,000. So you would get 8 more points. You'd end up at negative 22.7 ish. Maybe more just like negative 22 because of the Honba, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Alec would end up with 5 more Uma.
Yeah, so you'd be pushing Alec a little higher.
Below 30k. So you'd only have a net gain on Alec of 3, which is kind of interesting.
That is a really interesting small note. I mean, +3 is still +3, but it is a sort of interesting aspect of the floating Uma that actually doesn't help as much as you want it to. And wow, they started the game right away. And so we were right into game number 4, it looks like. Yeah, I would love to look back at the scenario and determine whether or not the Roan should have been taken. I personally think with Mangan, I would accept that, especially because it was Tuso that was discarded. It feels like a fold when you discard the same tile twice. But as it is, we move to game number 4 of this set. This will be the last.
This is Senpai for Alec.
Yeah, and this is Speedy, Ricci, Pinfu, potential Tanyao if you can grab the 4. So the other winning tile will be, of course, the 1. So 4th turn Ricci, and the rest of the table is like, come on, give me a break. Especially maybe Jason, who looked like they had a good starting hand. You might even just push this 9 pin, 9 pin. Go for Tanya.
Tsumo.
Oh wow, Takamei Tsumo. Ichi Tsumo Pinfu Tanya. And an Ura to make this expensive. So that's a Mangan for Alec, and this is a great start, extending the lead. We move to East 2. It will be Travis's dealership.
Pong.
All right, let's look around at these hands. Travis starts with good Pinfu shapes, potentially even turning this into Tanya. Does not have the door 1 pin, and neither does the player on the right, which also looks kind of average as a starting hand. You've got the good floater 5 pin and some weaker shapes, but you can certainly draw into a good hand. So making reach for Carl. Across the table, we saw the West call already, and the Pinzu shape is awkward, but you've got a good Bonzu shape. So not thinking about Onitsu here. Perhaps just West, call your Yamen shapes and wait for Doratanki for a little bit more value. We'll see how that develops with the 7 mantra.
Yeah, could even go Toy Toy now.
Absolutely, you have the pairs for it, and you could still get a Doratanki weight there. To the left, very average hand. We'll just be aiming for Ricci. Oh my, the dealer hand has progressed nicely.
God, that's such an awkward draw, though.
You've already got your pair kind of locked in with the 4, 5, 5, 5, 6 shape. Of course, you could discard out of that.
I wonder... God, there's just so many things this hand could be. I mean, the problem with this 2-2-3-3 is that it overlaps with the 5-6. And you don't want to throw away the 5-6 because you can still get us on Shoku. So I almost feel like I would have rather thrown away a 3-so and
Yeah.
have, two of those nice Ryeonman pairs.
I think this is probably the most flexible way of doing it. And okay, so with a 7 draw, that's not quite what you're looking for if you're aiming for a Sanshoku. Now drops the 3 pin or 3-7.
I mean, the 7 pin does make it to where you can kind of choose your Sanshoku a little bit. You could
That's
go
true.
4-5-6 or 5-6-7. Oh,
That's
but
right,
there's one of the 4-sos, and now Tenpai waiting on the 3 pin, but there are 3 of them in Jason's hand.
Oh my, and Jason with an Anko of the 1-so as well could potentially make San Anko here with more good draws.
I mean, is Ishanten for Sananko.
Absolutely.
So with more good draw, one might say.
That, and maybe with more draws, you're aiming for Su Anko. Oh, this is interesting. You draw the 2, and you can incorporate the Dora, but that forces the 3s to kind of act as your pair, because it's unlikely to expect to draw the 4th 3 pin. And interestingly, it chooses to drop the 8, and now this 9 can't be used, so backfire there.
That would have been a Tenpai, but it would have required discarding the Dora, which maybe Jason's unwilling to do anyway.
Yeah, the alternative would have been to drop one of your other pairs and take Tenpai on the 3 pin and either 6-so or 5 mon, depending on which pair you discard. As it is, it's Tenpai on the right for Tanyao. Waiting 2 pin, 8-so, where
And we
only
see
8-sos
all the
available.
Ooh!
Suanko Ishanten? But the 2 pin would have to come out.
But it requires dealing in.
Oh no. Oh
no!
We'll take the Toy Tenpai. That was such a beautiful hand too, but Carl will grab the 1,000 points and that early.
Yeah, the guaranteed Mongon there not coming to fruition for Jason.
And even with Sumo would have been Haneman. Wow. That's actually a huge win for Carl to shut that down. Carl rewarded with Ishanten Haipai after 2 discards for Richi Dora 1 or potential Richi Pinhu. And now that you've drawn that 6, you could even get Ipeiko.
What do you discard here?
Yeah, that's a good question. You obviously want to keep that, so you could drop. Oh, that wasn't the one I was expecting.
I was thinking of dropping 7-9-so.
I think that's pretty standard, as you can treat the 5-5-6-6 shape as a double Yeonman shape, and even potentially draw 2 more Dora tiles, or incorporate 2 more Dora tiles. Of course, if you're not willing to gamble on drawing repeatedly the 4-7 side of things, you could drop the 9-8 mon and hope to fill the Penchon 7-9 shape. Oh, sorry, the Kanchon 7-9 shape. Yeah, chooses this route instead.
Who's the closest to battling this hand? It looks like both Travis and Jason have pretty fast hands here.
Yeah, maybe starting across the table with Jason, you've got good tiles for Tanyao, although the weakest part of that is the fact that you need the 6 mon, and we can see a couple of 6 mon are already out. But outside of that, you can make Pinfu for sure. And then to the left, this one also Ishanten for Ipeiko with a Yankan in the Pinzu shape. 3-5-7 needs to be filled in there. Carl ends up pairing up the 9-so. And so now Ishanten hoping to draw another Dora or a 4 mon. And this is an awkward draw for Travis here. 4 pairs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. Could have thought about switching to Chitoy, but decides they like the Yankan and Ipeiko chances better.
Yeah, I mean, that is just like as awkward as a shape can be almost.
The nice thing about the Sosu shape is that your Ipeiko is pretty much guaranteed if you can fill the other shape.
Carl making a safety discard here. Discards the 3 mon. Not a lot. I mean, we see 2 Formon in the discards, but that 3 peen is safe to both Travis and Alec on the left and right. So, kind of, and with the 1 peen already in his own discards, I really feel like that's holding on to the 3 peen instead of the 3 mon is just for safety, especially since, well, I guess the 3 mon didn't add all that much to your hand.
Exactly. Yeah, the 3 mon doesn't help the shape that you're hoping to create, and so hanging on to this safer 3 pin is probably indicative of why Carl has such a low dealing rate. He is always thinking about once your blocks are set, just find the safest tile. And the West also was a pretty safe tile as well. Maybe I would have even taken that over the three pin there. Oh, you want that 4, but you can't call it. A 7's much better. Here we go. Ricci, Pinfu, potential Ipeco, and Dora 2.
Have to win on these 7 mon to get the Ipeco.
Yeah, that one's a little less likely. But 4 mon has been cut 3 times, and the other 4 mon is in the hand. So actually, all the winning tiles are out, none in the wall. It would have to come out of someone's hand here, and who would it be?
They're all being used.
Yeah, Alec would be the one to discard it, but Alex really wants to use that tile.
Oh, although that 3 mon cut, I mean, that looks like a folding cut. That's can't even really Mawashi with cutting the 3 mon. So
No.
I feel like Alex just folding here.
Yeah, that is 100% a fold. And unfortunately for Alec, not a lot of safe tiles here. 6 pin is safe, 1 pin is safe, but outside of that, you see all the 3 pins, so 2 is fairly safe. Especially with 1 being discarded already. And across the table, that Jason, who might be pushing just a little bit.
Busy Shanten.
Will not get a chance to grab Tenpai, though. As we enter Yukioku, Carl grabs 3,000, minus the Ricci stick, so 2,000 net. And we'll go again as dealer.
Is above 30k now, though.
Nice penchant fill, and the East is the Dora, your wind, and the round wind. So has a pretty good starting hand here to grab that Ricci stick back with a bunch more.
Yeah, that 4, 5, 6, 7 shape in the Monsu is incredible too.
Oh, beautiful. And you've got a nice floating 4 pin. 9 mon wasn't exactly the draw you're looking for, but it helps, right? The tune comes out, and it's called by Alec, who is aiming to just steal that Ricci stick with a 1,000 point hand. Across the table. Oh, this looks very pretty as well. Is that Shanten already? For Ricci Pinfu.
It is, and that was the ideal tile to draw for the weight, because now you have the wide open 1-so, 4-so weight for that Pinfu.
Yeah,
on the 4-so, you'd also have Tanyao.
Exactly, because of that 6-pin drop. Beautiful. And now this puts the pressure on Travis on the left, who also had a reasonable starting hand, but you don't really want to drop that Dora now that someone's gone reach. Probably see another 1 pin here.
Early reachy like this, a Dora Tonki would be pretty easy to imagine.
Yeah. And, I wonder how Carl will play this. Carl, of course, the dealer, wants to continue, but now pairing up Dora definitely feels like you can fight with this hand.
Yeah, you see 3 2-peen discarded, so that 4-peen, I mean, doesn't look as awful as all the other tiles you know nothing about.
Yeah, certainly.
That helps.
Yeah, well, when somebody clears it for you, that certainly is great. Yeah, 2 is the wrong side for, 4-7 Suji, but it does play into a little bit. It's less likely to be a 2-3-4 shape. Here comes the 4. Still 2 tiles away from Tenpai.
Sumo.
Oh, there's the
Sumo.
Just cut things short. Reach Sumo Pinfu. Noda, so not the most expensive of hands, but I'm sure Jason will be certainly pleased to move into third now, close to second, close to 30,000.
Well, it's still everybody very close. Alec does not have a massive lead here, even though he's the only person above 30K.
And the starting hand doesn't look amazing. Kanchan, 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 Penchan, and a non-Yakuhai pair. This needs a lot of improvement. To the right, we've got Adora Eitso and some Tanyao type tiles, but still weak shapes and just a lot of pairs. Hard to see where this hand is going to go right from the get-go. Across the table, we've got good Mansu shapes and some decent inner floaters. So this could turn into a Tanyao. We see that 9-pin discarded, confirming the 8s to be a pair or a set, perhaps in the future. And then to the left, Carl has got more pairs, but better shapes. We have the 3-4 and 7-8 mon Yamen shapes. Fills one of those immediately, and so now only 2 tiles away from Tempai. Can also incorporate the 8, so if the Dora is drawn.
Alec has such an infuriating hand here. This is one of those hands that at this point, even as dealer, I almost just want to fold. Like, you still don't have any complete shapes at the start of the second row. You have your only value is a Dora locked up in a Pinchon.
Yeah,
you never know what to do with these.
Yeah, hit the end of row 1, your shapes haven't improved at all. You've got this mess. You're like, I am so far behind everyone else at the table. I might as well start thinking about what safe tiles to hang on to for when somebody goes reach. I prefer the 2-so cut here, but it's not like the 2-pin was doing much more in your hand. Can kind of aim for 3-4-5 Sanshoku. And if you see a tile to call, you might just go for it, as there's not many other options here.
And the 9-so, another awkward pull-in. Close to Dora, you're fine using it as a 7-8-9, but you really can't use it as a pair if you want to hold on to the Dora.
7-pin is an interesting draw for Travis. Throws it back. Could have entertained the thought of keeping the 5-7 shape. Instead,
Could have
wants
perhaps discarded the 8 mon.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6. Definitely pretty wide. Problem is, your pair is likely to be the 8-pin in that situation.
Are we going to see a con from Jason on the right? Not yet. And then Carl on the left is Ishan 10 for a Chitoy.
Yep, 5 pairs.
There's a Rion con fill in for Alec, who, I mean, with that hand, seems so far behind, but nobody's reached Tempai yet. So Alec, very, very slowly getting to catch up here. Would you call that south for the K10?
I might, and not even necessarily K10, Sanshoku. You've got your Yanshan 10 away from that. You call the south, you're actually Ishan 10.
You do have to discard the Dora, though.
It is awkward. And if you don't feel comfortable dropping the Dora, you can always aim for K10, like you said. It is late. It might be too awkward to do that, actually. Certainly, if another 3 comes out of Carl's hand, I would like to call that. And we still have yet to see that con. Perhaps upon reaching... okay, perhaps right now.
That's not Ishan 10, but...
Yeah, you can con into Tempai here.
Yeah, is Ishan 10 now? I meant to say not Tempai, yes.
Right. Maybe your shape's good enough that you would like to do that. Yes. Okay, we see the con. 3 so is revealed to be Dora, and, well, nobody's using that. 3 of those, in fact, have been discarded.
Yeah, you're kind of in a weird situation where by calling con, you are giving dealer the final draw and taking the final draw away from yourself. You're not reducing your number of draws since you get a draw when you call the con, but I often like to call con towards the end of hands to move who gets the final tile, and moving it away from me and towards dealer is never my objective.
Yeah, but
Although we
perhaps
see
one
here that obviously it didn't matter.
right. And well, a hand that no one finds Tempai in Yukoku. So no exchange of points, dealer shift. And we'll move to the south round. It's
I feel like
Jason.
there's been a few times where we've moved away from Alex's hand and then needed to kind of immediately go back to it because he's had some sort of whack Honitsu.
Yeah, I mean, look at this start. You have Yakuhai North, Yakuhai Chun. Honitsu is in the Dora suit if he chooses to go for that. Ooh,
I mean,
that 3 makes it so tempting. You've got all the blocks you need.
6 on first either way.
Right.
I feel like if this Chun comes out, that would seal the deal.
Absolutely. And we see a Chun drawn and discarded. And not called. Oh my.
And then immediately draws the Dora, so, I mean, perhaps rewarded for it, but, yeah, I really feel like that Chun is going to be a call 9 times out of 10 for me.
If you end up with a pair weight on the 9-pin, well, I guess that wouldn't be so great, as we see all the other 9-pins are out. But you could, perhaps shift your pair to something else.
Improvements, though.
Yeah.
What's Jason making as dealer here?
Well, he's dropped a lot of inner tiles outside of the early Dora discard. Might have been thinking about Honitsu, except the 7 was discarded, so maybe not. Yeah, just trying to make a hand, I guess. Now there's a bit of a lean towards Honitsu if you can redraw the 7-mon. But if you're building a normal hand, you might have expected to see some of these Yakuhai come out, particularly the North, which has already been discarded.
Alec taking the Atazuke Tenpai, waiting on the Chun. Or wait. I really expected the 7-so discard there. Didn't discard the 7-so. Waiting on the 6-so and 9-so. And there's not Atazuke because they already have the North. So just really taking this hand as one Han.
Yeah, we saw the early discard of the Dora prevented you from calling Chi with the Dora shape.
I just keep expecting so much more value out of that hand.
It looks so strong at the start. And speaking of value, Jason has redrawn the 7-mon and is now pushing for the Honitsu. With the South Yakuhai in hand, unfortunately, that means if you draw the 6 or 9-so that you will be dealing in. And if you're sitting at this table, you're not too concerned about Honitsu because of the early discards of Pinzu, and the 6-so does come out.
Yeah,
just 1,000 points.
I wouldn't have been worried about Alex's hand at all. I mean, you see Dora discarded. It doesn't look like a Honitsu at all. Like, I'm probably just mostly ignoring it and building whatever I can. And Alec benefits from that.
Yeah, it looks like Alec, in first place with everyone else pretty far, reasonably far below, just had thoughts of progressing dealership and moving to South 2. And that's where we are right now with Travis as dealer. Has a bit of an awkward start. The North is not Yakuhai. You've got a Penchon and a Yaman in the Manzu. You do have a Dora, so there is something worth fighting for. And it'll just sort of see what happens as you discard some of these honor tiles. To the right, Anko, 9-so, great Sozu shapes as well. But looking to make just Ricci here, even maybe a backdoor Sozu. Itsu. Across the table, we have West. That is Yakuhai. And this is Tenpai already after calling the 1-pin for Sha only. But there's enough food to make this a 1 in 40 hand. So 1,300 points for Alec, who continues to aim for these slightly cheaper hands to move the game along. And well, there we go. End it right now. Move us over to South 3. And extending the lead, now almost 10k above everyone.
Yeah, and these little hands, like even more than the amount they're extending the lead because they're so small, they're not extending the lead considerably. What they are doing is they are pretty soundly keeping anybody from getting over 30k. You
Also,
certainly can't get over 30k by losing.
perhaps inflicting a little bit of psychological damage on your opponents too, who are trying to build hands and just not getting the opportunity to because Alec keeps grabbing these tiny ones. Like, that's not worth anything. Let me have a chance to build my Mongon. Well, Carl wants to build Mongon here to reclaim first place. Has a decent starting hand, could potentially make Pinfu here and incorporate the Dora 2 Mon. Even chance at 789 Sanshoku now, so we'll see how this develops. Right, there's an Itsu chance in Pinzu. Outside of that, you're making Ricci. Yeah, probably just Ricci. You do have a Dora 2 Mon in hand. Across the table, 3 Mon is a nice pickup. And now, could you be thinking about Chunchan or Chanta? I like that. I like keeping that in the back of your head. It's not guaranteed, but it gives you calling options. And if you can call for Junchan Dora 1, that will move you over 30k. As we are in South 3, you definitely are thinking about your placement and getting a positive score here.
Ooh, a great draw there for Carl. Although, yeah, the most efficient discard is that 8-9, which is getting away from the Sanshoku chance.
Yep, but in this case, you've got reasonable value outside of the Sanshoku, so you're not too upset about it. Especially if you can draw the Dora. And well, it's actually Travis who draws the Dora and hangs on to it for the time being. This could be dangerous because Carl is getting really close to Tenpai. It could end up on the 2-5 weight. It's actually Alec who finds Tenpai first, this time declaring Ricci on the 3-Mon. It will be Ricci Dora 1 for now.
Yeah, and I do imagine Carl will fight this as this is a headless Ishanten, so we do imagine there's Tenpai, and you can discard the 9 even.
Yeah. So Ricci waiting on 2-5, and now Alec in a little bit of danger as his weight is not the better one here.
Oh, there's the luckily for Alec not going to draw. Oh no!
Sometimes it happens this way. The worst weight ends up winning. Unlucky for Carl, who did a really good job putting that hand together, but it is the 3-Mon that is drawn and discarded, and Alec with another fairly cheap hand.
But has 2 Dora. That's not a cheap hand. That's 2 Dora 2.
After the last hand was only 2,600, but this one is looking to be a lot more than 2,600 for sure. Especially as dealer, you're minimum 5,800 if you can use both of the Dora. And everyone else grouped around, mid 20,000 points will desperately be fighting for a slight placement increase. This 8-So is a great pickup. Still 2 tiles away from Tenpai, but you've got easily callable shapes. To the right, we've got Hatsu pair. You can call, but for not a lot of value. 2,000, if you got 1 Dora, isn't enough here.
Oh, that a 3-4-5 Sanshoku though. You only need the 3-Mon to get there. That would be Tenpai.
Yeah, this is Ishanten, so maybe that's a route to getting your 3 Han. Chun called by Alex, so now Ishanten for Chun Dora 2, which would be 5,800 points. Oh, Con does con it. I thought you might discard the 1 first, but just insta-con, and the North is revealed to be Dora. We see North has been twice cut and unlikely to be used by anyone here. So that con actually really helps unless somebody else gets declared Ricci. And is anybody else close? Across the table, this is not quite Ishanten. Got 2 tiles away, and your shapes are pretty much set, though. I might have preferred seeing the 9-So cut there instead and aim for including Tanyao here.
What Alec really needs, if Alec draws the 1-So, that would guarantee 50 Fu. And so then it would be 3 Han, 50 Fu. Or you could draw any of your other paths to Tenpai, and then if you sumo, you'll get 50 Fu. Otherwise, you'd have 40. So that can make a pretty significant difference in the number of points for Alec.
Yeah, 9,600 for a 350 dealer is incredible. Of course, it's almost Mongon. And with this lead, you don't need such a massive hand, but of course, you'll take all the points you can get. Why not rack up the score? To the left, this is Ishanten for Ricci Ipeko. Oh, East pair.
Well, now you can just discard the 7-pin.
Yeah.
Why not turn this into a Hanuman?
Right? Get Honitsu. Oh, there's the East!
Oh my god! Immediately gets it!
So-
609 wait now.
9 just came out, too. With
But
2
the
7s
other-
discarded, the other table should be on high alert for Sozu, though. And it is Chun, East, Honitsu, Dora 2 for Haneman. Be 18,000 points upon win.
There are 2 more in the wall, but we do have the Ricci across the table for Travis, waiting on a Shanpon 5-mon 8-so.
We see 1 5 and 1 8 in the other hand. So only one of those tiles left. One of either left. 1 5 and 1 8. Oh, 6 would have been an upgrade. But of course, with Ricci Tanyao, you'd assume you get Uda. There's good chances for Uda. Then you've got the Mongon that you need to get over 30,000. Player to the left is also Ishan 10, but this 5 is so scary.
4
Oh, drops the 9 instead!
9-so!
That was safe against the Ricci, but this is going to be 18,000 points for Carl, straight to Alec. And Alec will be over 60,000 points after that hand.
God, dealer Hanuman, that is absolutely brutal.
You know, at the start of the hand, it looked moderately expensive, but turning that into 18,000 is excellent and not a bad starting hand for your dealer repeat as well. You've got a couple pairs, so you maybe can discard one of those if you're going to make an Itsu in the Pinzu, and Yankan in the Sozu as well. That's just a bit awkward to fill in. Can anybody fight this? To the right, it looks pretty good for Tanyao, and you've got a Dorohatsu that you'd love to pair up. Tanyao isn't quite what you're looking for here, so you might choose to wait on a Dora, or actually this is Ishan 10 for Ricci as well. Ricci Tanyao. Across the table, potential Ipiko in the Manzu, potential 6, 7, 8 Sanchoku as well. If you can draw the 7 and 7-pin and the 6-so.
Yeah, you really do want a Mongon if you're Travis.
8,000 points is enough to move you over 30k. To the left, you've got, was this Ishan 10 already? It is, but you really want the 3-pin. And you're in deep fourth, so you want more than just Ricci Pinfu here.
Yeah, you probably want to shift it to a Tanyao. Oh god, this can shift towards Junchan for Alec. If you wanted to.
Yeah, there's a world where that happens, but instead
Not
chooses
this
to
Eat.
maybe think about the Itsu in the Sozu suit instead.
I probably would have ended up discarding one of my 5-pin to keep the Junchan alive, but also to set up a future Suji trap because I'm a big fan of those. We do have the Ricci from Jason waiting again. Champon 2-mon 7-pin.
Didn't end up finding the Tanya there, so we'll need some Ura or Atsumo in order to hopefully get enough value to make this to fill the gap. Really hoping for Uda. There's decent Uda chances here.
Now we have the chasing Ricci.
This is 7
This
pairs.
is going to be Chitoy.
8 is Genbutsu to the first reach, so you might see the 6 come out and try to trap it. However, safe discard is made instead.
And waiting on the 6-pin, 2 of which are in Carl's hand. And Carl, I mean, really has to push here. I mean, you're so far, maybe you don't. Maybe you just, don't make your 4th any worse, but...
Yeah, fighting against 2 hands with what you've got currently, it seems difficult, but Carl's still making it work. And Alec is doing the opposite of Mawashi here. Just full fold. No reason to risk your 60,000 points. Not that it would be a huge risk, but you don't want to deal right in.
Although Alec is kind of wandering into a Chitoy, although is discarding a pair.
Yeah, it declines that, says no thank you to what would be an unnecessary hand, I think, at this point. Oh my goodness. Can still Ishan 10 after all of this if you drop the 9 so, but would probably end up having to discard the 7 pin. That would deal in, as we can see. Oh,
Wrong.
the 6 wins, and the Chitoi is actually the hand that wins. Can we find Ura 2? There is Ura 2. That is Mongon.
Oh, got it.
Wow. So Travis, or rather, Travis finding the 30K. Incredible.
Yeah, and that's why you have to call Ricci there. I mean, you have really no choice. You have to get Ura to get yourself above 30K. Or actually, a sumo, there was 2 Homba.
Yeah.
So a sumo would have been 7,200.
Well, so Chitoi sumo is 32 with the reach stick, 42, 2 Homba, 54. I forget exactly where the points were, but I think that might have been just a little bit shy.
Ricci sumo Chitoi, isn't that 6,400?
I was assuming I thought you were talking about Dama. But
No,
with the
no,
Ricci,
Ricci.
definitely, that would be the 8,000 necessary as well.
But thanks to that dealer Hanuman in the second to last round in South 4 there for Alec, he's a plus 46.6, a very, very solid first. And then Travis with the incredible Chitoi Ura 2 to crawl above 30K right at the end. That plus 7.5 is huge for Travis. And then on down the line, Jason with a third, negative 16.7, and then Carl taking another hit, a negative 37.4 is going to bring Carl down the line some.
Yeah, if we, once the scores update, we'll actually see Carl fall below 100 points here.
And actually is also going to fall below the guaranteed B1 line into the B1, B2 playoff, and that pushes Haru up into the guaranteed B1 spot.
Huge swing here. Carl, with 2 4th places in a row, is actually quite painful. He was looking quite strong at the start here. But there is another round, another session. So in about 2 weeks, or about, what is it? Today is Monday, so in about a week's time, we'll start the final session for Group B2, and we'll see how things develop in this bracket. See if Carl can manage to work his way back up.
The final regular session, it should be noted, there will still be a playoff session where everyone in those notches between the different possible B pools will face off against each other for those final spots.
Right. Well,
I
know
B2A has started another game. We can either call it here, according to how we're feeling, or since that game just started, we could go catch their 4th and final game.
Yeah, I'm have nothing else going on tonight, so I'm down to do whatever y'all would like to do.
I'm down as well. You want to do it, Scott? You want to hang? All right, it looks like we will do that. So we will switch to Brett, Matthew, Joe, and Peter in just 1 second here.
Yeah, we were actually watching this table a little bit earlier. We caught 2 of their matches, and we saw 2 players really pushing up on the leaderboard, fighting for that guaranteed spot. And will be exciting to see how the standings have changed in the 3rd game, which we didn't get to see. And now moving into the 4th and final game of their set, exactly what is going to happen.
In that 3rd game, Peter got a plus 23.3 first, Joe got a plus 6.1 second, Brett got a minus 5.4 third, and Matthew got a minus 24 point last. It looks like there was only one hand that entire round that was Mongon or above. One Hanuman Sumo by Joe in South 1 Repeat 1. But here we are, starting the 4th game.
Alrighty, so right into things. We're only in East 2, so we'll catch quite a decent amount of this. And it looks like the first hand was a 3,000 point sumo from Joe, who has the slight lead and has a very pair-heavy starting hand. Door is the Haku, which we don't see anywhere around this table, as we're about a row and a half into the discards here. Curious to see if Joe will turn this into 7 pairs, toy, or even draw 2 5 pin and make Pifu like normal hand here. Not Pifu, but rather Ipeko type normal hand.
Oh, we have Tempai now from Matthew on the right calling Ricci, waiting on the 6-0, 9-0.
Ricci Pinfu, and no Dora just yet.
No Dora just yet. Only way to get Dora is going to be if someone cons or if we can see them underneath the dead wall.
Right, and 6-9 actually looking not as strong as you'd expect. There's with the Anko of 6, so in Brett's hand, there's only 1 6 left and 1 9 left in the wall. Maybe Brett's the closest to fighting here. Ishan 10.
Although doesn't have the kind of value that I typically like to fight a Ricci with.
But with Brett's current position, you might just have to fight with anything.
That is the very unfortunate aspect of league play like this, where, we are talking about, well, there's a con from Dealer.
Wow, Joe going for it all and does reveal Adora. So there's a 1-so in Matthew's hand. Now Tempai for Toy Toy. Oh my.
God, that is a Toy Toy dash if I've ever seen one. And the 1-peen and 9-peen are almost all in Peter's hand. Oh, and it instantly comes out. It was Suji to the Ricci. So we have Toy Toy Nomi for Joe.
A 3,900 point Toy Toy, as there was enough food to make that 40. And my goodness, the 1 looked so safe. The 4 had come out. You had a pair of 1s. It's so unlikely to deal in. And, well, the Ricci wasn't waiting for the 1-pin. It was the Dealer.
And Joe's hand could have just as easily been Tanya as it was Toy Toy.
Indeed. And, well, what a pickup for Joe is we'll extend the lead. We'll grab another repeat. We'll take a great draw of this 2-pin to fill in the Kanchan shape. And now you're looking at a hand that's not too bad. It's potential for 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. And you're missing a pair. So if you could draw another Dora, that would be excellent. And to the right, we've got another chance at 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. This one's maybe a little bit more progressed until you draw the 9-pin. So maybe cancel those plans. We'll still keep it in the back of our heads, of course, but perhaps just aiming for a Ricci here, as this is Tempai.
Does not take the Tempai, though. We've seen a lot of denied Tempais tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if it is Matthew who's been denying Tempai. I do know Matthew's been denying calls, which makes me get the feeling that Matthew's goal is to aim for big hands, aim for Mangan plus, and is not willing to accept a cheap Tempai.
Although this hand, it's going to be very hard for this hand to find more value, especially with the 8-so discard. Because you can't create a Sanshoku anymore. You can't really create a Junchan.
Ricci.
This is a good weight. So maybe we'll see the Ricci here. 2, 5, 9, where the 9 is Suji trapped. Or just Ricci.
Ricci only.
Yeah. Joe, again, still kind of close to Tempai. We might have to see if he fights this one. 8 is Suji, so we'll start there. Still thinking about fighting for this hand.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we are just going to see Brett push basically everything.
Yeah, Brett here, Ishan 10, so...
Tsumo.
Oh, there's the Tsumo. Didn't have the chance to deal in. Ricci, Tsumo, Noda, so just the 2 and 30 hand for 2,000. Plus the Reach stick in the home ball, of course. And that moves Matthew above 30k. So we move into East 3. Matthew's dealership draws a second East. And so now double tone possibility.
Is going to be racing against Peter on the right, though, who does have an Anko of Chun already.
And an Anko 7-pin, although that's kind of used as a sequence and a pair. Oh, but drawing the 3-mon, now there's real chances for Sananko Suanko.
Yeah, and Matthew is going to have to fight this 8-9-mon Pinchan in hands. Like, very good other than that one shape. You can actually get rid of it. You have 5 other shapes. So I would almost hold this. Oh, God, but the 7-mon's Dora. No! It's my least favorite situation.
Yeah, if you saw a 7-mon come out of Brett, that'd be Joe on your left. I imagine you just call that and go Otozuke waiting for the east. And we see the 6-8 will come out of the hand to the right, aiming for using the 7-pin as your triplet.
And that's kind of an interesting cut because you're still, well, we're not Ishanten anymore. That was a step backwards, wasn't it?
Let's see. Yeah, I guess technically that's right. If you drop, say, the 4-pin instead and you were to grab a 3 like that just happened, then you could discard the 7 or the 6 for Tenpai. As it is, we are Ishanten now. So I guess the aim here was really Toy Toy all the way. Oh, drawing a third 1-pin hurts a little bit. You just throw it back at this point. Really interesting Tanyao shapes for Brett. Might have even wanted to consider dropping the West pair, but for now, we see a Ricci Joe. Ricci Pinfu waiting on 5-8. A Ricci Pinfu Dora on 5-8 Mon. And here's an 8. This is danger.
Yeah, your Ishanten though all but pushes it.
It is right next to Dora, which makes it a difficult push, but thought the value was there. Unfortunately, this deals into Mongon. And now Joe takes the commanding 44,000 point first place.
Attempted to say 44,000 point lead, but like that's true.
Exactly. I was going that direction. Like, well, this could be thought about a different way. So I twisted that sentence around mid-sentence.
I like your shift here. I want to point out this has nothing to do with Mahjong, but all 4 of our players are in different 10,000s. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's actually, that can't be terribly, like I said, that isn't unusual. If one player hits a big hand off of another, and then one player hits a small hand off of another, then that would happen. But it is quite a fun thing to note. And we've got a dealer hand who's got a door 9-pin, but it's really hard to use that. We might see that come out. I mean, obviously, you'd like to make 7-8-9 Sanshoku, but you're probably drawing into Tenpai before you do that. And so, unlikely that will stick around for long, as it does indeed come out. To the right, we've got Hatsu pair, and not much value outside of that. Potential 3-4-5 Sanshoku, though. Across the table, good Pinzu shapes, and this is Yanshanten for Ricci Pinfu. To the left, we've got an Anko of the 9-so, and a 5 Mon is a great pickup. You are Ishanten here as well. For
There
just Ricci
have actually been a couple of amazing draws in a row for Matthew. Matthew had the 1-2 pinch on in Sozu, and honestly, it looked like Matthew's hand was going to be too slow to compete with anybody here, but just right in a row, drew the 3-so, then drew the 6-so, or I mean, drew one of the Mon tiles to make a ring up, and now has actually found a way into perfect Ishanten, which if you had told me that 3 tiles ago, I would not have believed you.
Beautiful for Matthew, and can anybody fight this? Draws have been all right, especially for Brett on the right, but still not as close. We do see Ishanten across, Ishanten now. The 4 has been drawn. You can maybe make Itsu here. Oh, but chooses to go the Tanya route instead. And Matthew's efficient play has given him Ricci. Ricci only, waiting on 4-7 Mon. Brett calls and breaks the Ipatsu, aiming to find a Tanyao here, but has to discard the 7 Mon right into the Ricci. No Udas, only 1,300. It feels like Brett has dealt into a couple of these cheap hands, which you're not necessarily concerned about the small hit. You're just concerned about the fact that you're not getting the chance to win.
And Brett really needs those chances to win.
Right. I mean, you're fighting for every hand here. In this hand, it looks like it's going to be a tough battle. You've got complete shape in the Manzu and 7-8 Ryamen and Pinzu, but awkward. You don't have very good floaters. The 1-pin can be used to connect to doors, so maybe that's a start. To the right, we've got a hand that seems about average. You'd like to be able to incorporate the door. In fact, you can do so twice, but that overlapping shape is hard to expect to get cleared. Speaking about the door, let's quickly jump over to the left where we see a Chun Call and 2 3-pin in hand. In fact, there's even a world where you could turn this into Honitsu, and from last place, Peter might want to aim for that. Although
Just
if
as valuable would be Toy Toy.
Toy Toy is another perfectly good option. And if you were to get the last 3 pin, then you've got a Mongon without making Honitsu. So you might just take the direct route. We'll see right here, 5 is chosen as the discard. So
I probably would have discarded the 2, so kind of hedge my bets a little bit.
yeah, they're about the equivalent, but by dropping the 2, so and if you were to draw, say, a 4 or a 6 pin, you could aim back towards that Honitsu again.
Yeah, we've had a few amazing draws for Brett in a row. This is now an incredibly wide Ishanten.
Even there with the 8 pin discard from Peter, you could lose a little bit of efficiency and drop the 2 so, and then think about making Toy Toy. But instead takes the Tenpai, waiting on 3 pin 4 or so.
And then Tenpai as well for Brett, waiting on 9 Mon 5 so, although does not call Ricci.
There are upgrades for weight here. Ooh. Oh, you could drop 9 Mon and aim for Tanya and Pinhu. Instead, keeps the Tenpai. And, well, let's see. Lots of pairs to the right. You can call that for Tanya, especially if a 3 pin were to come out. You might strongly consider doing that. If you're Brett, I'm not sure how much longer you want to go without declaring Ricci here. Oh, wait. The 9 Mon has been cut twice, so the weight's actually incredibly awkward. I would say that's even more reason to maybe have cut the 9 Mon earlier when you had the 4.
I mean, really 1 turn earlier than that. Cutting the 9 Mon when you had the 8 pin in hand, you still had that 5, 6, 7, 8. Then when you draw the 4 pin, you call Ricci on the 9 Mon and you have the 3, 6, 9.
3, 6, 9, yeah. I didn't even notice that the 8 was the discard for Tenpai. Oh, here's a 5. You can switch the weight to something a little bit more efficient here. Now it's the 3, 6 so, and there's the Ricci. And maybe Brett's decided, end of row 2, I'm going to declare Ricci if I haven't gotten an upgrade. Usually when that happens to me, I immediately draw an upgrade, but almost fortunately, it was the Hatsu that was drawn instead.
I'm more in the even more negative camp where I just never call the Ricci. I'm like, well, this is just never going to be worth it for me, huh?
There's something to be said about taking a bad weight dealer Ricci just to put pressure. Now, the problem is you have a player to your left who's made 2 calls and is probably Tenpai, and so you're fighting a Tenpai with a bad Ricci.
Oh, and there's the deal in. That's going to be 3 Han.
Yeah. Only 30, just not quite enough through there with the weight switch, but and not getting the Tsumo, but it is still a perfectly acceptable score for Peter, who now is fighting to grab that 3rd place. And Peter definitely does not want to finish 4th here. 3rd is acceptable from the current position. Of course, you want to get 2nd or even 1st, but even just getting out of the 4th position is a totally fine outcome from where we were before. Here, it's Joe, who's our new dealer, has a Dora, has a Haku pair, could call for a fast hand. That's probably what I would do in this situation. To the right, we've got a Chun pair and really great shapes. Actually, this is 2 away from Tenpai, Itsu chance even in the Manzu. You would have to do a little bit of maneuvering with your pairs to get there, but it's definitely an option. And now that the 2
getting that
draw.
call for you.
Oh, yep, you're right. Joe did get that call. Now Ishanten needs to fill 2 Kanchan, but has a Yankan now with the door in the middle. So that's the perfect situation. If the 4 pin or the 6 pin comes out, you can snatch that up with the Dora.
There it is.
6 pins. Now we have Tenpai on the 3 so, and that looks like it might come out of Matthew's hand eventually, depending on what weight Matthew ends up taking.
Oh, there's another more south.
You might see 4 or 5 pin come out.
Yeah, I mean, could go towards Chanta. Although the 3 so would still have to come out.
Right. 7, 8 is chosen instead. Definitely had a long wait on that one. It's a difficult scenario. It is double Yakuhai, that south. And, you know, if you're trying to maximize value here, you want to call Pullen on the south and the Chun.
Oh, but there's the 3 from Brett.
Oh, that did not fit the hand. So it does come out and deal into 2,900. for Joe. We'll go again. Joe at 47,000 points. Starts with a Dora and some inner tiles. So we'll probably just start by dropping all these honor tiles and then seeing if we're close to Tanya or Pinfu or Sanchoku, or seeing where exactly we end up. To the right, we have an Anko of 2 Mon, and then 789 looks like readily available Sanchoku. 8 pin, probably the hardest tile to get, as that is the Dora. Across the table, we have, well, that is a ready-made Itsu. Ishanten already after 2 discards. Just need the 3 Mon and the 5 Mon. And then to the left, we've got a pretty average hand, aiming for Pinfu, Tanyao maybe. Want to use that Dora. We need good draws to get that, of course. Even a chance at 3, 4, 5 Sanchoku. And in the meantime, dealer is progressing towards a Tanyao hand. Sanchoku not looking likely. You still have a chance to use that Dora. In fact, your Ishanten. You can think of the 6-6-6-8 shape as an Anko of 6 pin, waiting on the pair of 8.
Oh, but it's going to take Tenpai here, discarding the Dora, waiting on the 3-pin.
Yeah, that's interesting. Taking the cheap Tenpai, I might have considered passing that up and hoping to draw an upper Pinzu myself.
Especially since you are still able to call Pon on the final 7, so should it come out.
Although, I guess that was the last 7. As we saw an early 7 discarded up above.
Yeah,
but,
I instantly forgot about the chi that was called, and I was just picturing that this was their entire hand. You don't need 13 tiles in your hand, surely.
We surely won't see a con here. Oh my goodness, it's Joe. Of course we'll con. Reveals the 2 Mon to be Dora. Oh, and that 2 Mon Anko in the hand to the right is massive, but...
Oh, that's Furton on the left.
There's a Furton 3-sided weight. 369. Yes. Maybe Joe knows. He just knows that it's 3d10, and you can call con safely. You don't have to worry about dealing in.
I mean, there is 2 Dora, though. Now you're guaranteed sumo on either the 3 or the 6 if you do sumo. So that would be Richi, sumo, Dora 2, Tanyao, Pinfu.
Yeah, with 9's discarded, you know you're getting Tanyao. So, Richi, sumo, Pinfu, Tanyao.
Chances at Ura.
Dora 2. Yeah, that's Hanemon minimum.
I mean, so this is a Furton you take.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, the 3-pin deals in!
Oh, that was such a good hand for Brett, and Joe just kills it again with a cheap one. Absolute pain, but Joe will be extremely happy with this and move on to an excellent dealer, another dealer starting hand. Great floating tiles, already 2 complete shapes as well. So aiming for Richi here with perfect draws, you can even get Pinfu. The second pair makes Pinfu less likely, but yeah, take the Ishanten for sure. To the right, we've got a Dora in hand. The shapes are a bit more awkward, but you can aim for Richi. Across the table, we've got 2 Dora, 2 of those 2-pin in hand already, and with that type of value, maybe you're thinking about, how can I make Mangan here? Richi Tanyao Dora 2, perhaps? Richi Dora 2 Sumo? Perhaps even just calling for Tanyao Dora 2 is only 3,900, but will put you in striking distance of getting over 30,000.
Yeah, a Mangan would be exactly 30,000.
Oh, with the 2 homeball, that's right. Keeps drawing these inner Pinzu tiles, so this is perfect. Now you're technically Ishanten, drops the 4 and keeps the Ishanten alive. And to the left, we've got fairly standard hand. Too many pairs is the problem. Oh, and the Pinzu keep coming. This works well. Also, Ishanten, but now you can call for Tanyao, if necessary. In fact, you could call the 2-pin, which importantly will give you your Mangan.
I kind of wish there was... there's Richi. I'm not going to make the joke I was going to make. That's Richi Pinfu, waiting on 4-pin, 7-pin for Joe here.
And Brett, we've seen Brett break Ippatsu with Pon a couple times now. This does cheapen the value of the hand, but there's a Richi stick and 2 home in the pot, and you're just grab a few thousand points. Uh-oh. Except for Matthew. Matthew's hand's kind of far away, so we might just see a bail. Also, with Matthew being above 30,000, you don't really want to deal in here. Seems like the right move.
Doesn't have any. I mean, doesn't have any safe tiles.
Yeah, as far as border tiles go, you've got the 1 pin, but that's right next to Dora. It's not extremely safe despite the early 3-pin cut. For example, if you had a 2-3-3 to start with and you know you want to use the 2-pin Dora, you might just throw the extra 3 early, especially if your other blocks are set.
Add the 2 sows that Brett cleared, though.
Peter thinking about whether the 7 so is worth pushing here for a wider Ishan 10. It does do so. Now Tempai, waiting on the 3-mon. 3-mon locked up into the hand to the left and to the right.
But it comes out of Brett's hand.
Had found Tempai. And unfortunately deals in to 3,900. And then Peter also gets the reach stick from Joe. So now up to 26,000. You're really getting close to that 30K mark. Also solidifying your third position a little bit by taking that directly from Brett will help your end score. As we move into South 3, it's Matthew's dealership. Chance for 789 Sanshoku. Outside of that, you're hoping to draw the Dora 3-mon. To the right, we've got also an outside chance at 789 or 789 Sanshoku. Also 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. So that's something to keep in the back of your head. Maybe I can make a pair-based hand, but now drawing that 9, so and you're thinking back to the original one. Well, across the table we've got a lot of inner tiles, perhaps making Tanyao, Ipeko, maybe Mpifu, and the hand to the left just reached Tempai, waiting on a closed 5, so Ricci only would be the value here. Maybe for that reason wants to hang on a little bit. There are plenty of weight improvements here in the Sozu.
Yeah, and with an 18,000 point lead, the easiest way to lose that would be to deal into a dealer Mongon after calling a bad Ricci. So,
and dealer's not that far from a Mongon hand. You just draw the 7-pin. You have Ricci, Pinfu, Sanshoku, potential Dora. And even if you were to draw the worst tile to get Tempai, the 6-mon, you still take that Ricci. Right across the table has now drawn an Anko of 4s. Ends up sticking with the Chitoi Ishan 10, but maybe at this point in the season you want to think about grading Suanko. I'm not sure if how many of these tiles have been discarded yet. We see 1 6-pin. It's likely
no 9-mon.
Yeah, some of the other tiles are likely to be used in other hands, though, like the 6-mon. Oh, and this is going to be a super wide weight. 2, 4, 5 for Joe.
You idiot, Chase. Waiting on the 7-pin. This is huge.
Ricci, Sanshoku, Dora. Is Mongon for Matthew if the 7-pin were to come out. Oh, there's another Anko, but you can't use that. If you're going for Chitoi. Oh, so many tiles in Brett's hands were lighting up. Particularly ones that had to be discarded. And
Ura 3!
Oh my, Joe
Ricci
just...
Ura 3 for Joe.
Keeps piling it on. 58,000 points now. And we move to all last. It is Peter, who's trying to make a go at 30,000. Has the pair of Easts in hand. So we can call and get another repeat. And I think that'll be the goal here. You don't want to be too fancy, especially with this hand. I mean, there's the opportunity to draw a Dora tile, but I think you just want to go fast.
Oh, well, but passes it.
Peter disagrees, says, I'll wait for the second one. I want to try to get it in one shot, maybe by going Ricci. And, well, to the right, we've got Brett, who's just fighting for points. Anything. You can't call here. It's too early for that. It's hard to see where this hand's going to go. There may be outside chance at Itsu in the Sozu. Across the table, speaking of Itsu, there's definitely chances in the Manzu there. Also, 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. And to the left, we've got
Seven,
Yeah.
8, 9 Sanshoku looking a lot better now for Peter. Draw with the Mon and Peen draws.
Yeah, so Peter actually thinking fancy might be the correct play as we see 789 Sanshoku would be 2 Han plus you get the one with the Dora, so minimum 58, and if you stay closed, that is you're probably getting 77 rather minimum. Joe wants to put this.
Not grading for the Honitsu, discarding the 9 Mon instead of the 2 Peen.
Yeah, Joe in very good position right here. Doesn't need to be extremely greedy. Just close this game out, and like normally you want to rack up the points, but already has racked up the points at 58,000. If he can even hit Matthew with a 1 Han hand, that'll be enough to earn an extra 5 UMA points. So I wonder if Joe will try to target Matthew if he gets a good weight. Speaking about Matthew, this is a Tanya out hand that's got 2 Dora, 8 pin. Of course, Matthew's trying to improve the standings a little bit. Currently in that B1-2 playoff spot, wants to move into range of a guaranteed B1 spot.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm Joe, now Joe is going for the Honitsu because the Honitsu is nice because if you sumo the Honitsu, that would be enough, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, for sure. Matthew would be paying at least 1,000 points. Honitsu Yakuhai is, without any extra foos, 3,900, so 1,000, 2,000.
Matthew with the Dama now, though, waiting on the Forso and the 8 Peen, either of which Joe would have to drop. Well, I mean, wouldn't have to. We would need to drop to continue pursuing the hand.
Solid move by Joe. It doesn't change the fact that he's each on 10, but it does increase the tiles that he can draw for Tenpai. Slightly wider weight here.
Mon looks dangerous.
Throws it right back. Could have dropped the 2 there. Well, we can switch the weight now.
Wouldn't be able to win on Dora, and the 2 So have already been twice discarded. 5 So has been once discarded.
Oh,
but we're gonna take the Ricci. Oh no, but
it's
okay. Oh, counter Ricci from Peter, waiting on the 6 Mon 9 Mon.
Wow. So Ricci no Mi. Oh, there's the 9.
I mean, you fold if you're Joe, right? Can you fold? Nothing looks safe.
You don't want to deal into this dealer. Oh, and that's exactly what happens. Ricci Patsu, no Sanshoku here, but with an Ura, that makes it 7,700, and now things have gotten really interesting for first.
Well, and this is, man, with that Ricci from Matthew, which, I mean, again, we talked about this earlier. This is why I wouldn't have called that Ricci, because there's a chance that if you lose that stick, you're no longer above 30K. Now, the same would have happened if a sumo would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, being above 30K is just so precious.
Yeah, if it's early, maybe the reach is justifiable there. Late, you're kind of expecting someone to be Tenpai. And I'm sure Matthew was thinking, looking at that Honitsu, thinking, Sozu has to come out of that hand. Joe probably doesn't care about dealing into my Ricci because it will end the game with him in first. But as a result, now dropping below 30,000, and we see quickly Peter calling the 1 pin. Has the Haku, so can aim for Honitsu or just Haku only. And that seems to be the plan.
There is a Haku in Matthew's hand right now.
Okay, we might see that come out then. As Matthew might use it for pairs, but is probably going to make more of a normal hand. Although the shapes are a bit awkward here. And we see pairs around the table. Across, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And to the right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. It's a very pair-heavy hand.
Yeah, and Joe did immediately discard one of those pairs as soon as you pointed it out, and then Peter immediately was able to pull in the Haku and is now waiting on the 6 Peen or 7 Peen.
Yeah, had a choice there. Could have chosen the 5-pin Kanchan weight with the opportunity to kind of shade that weight lower in the Pinzu to accept a Dora, but instead picks the Shampoo.
I personally, I kind of would have liked the 5 Peen weight just because your hand looks like Chanta. I mean, you obviously don't have to have Chanta because you have the Haku.
Mm-hmm.
But inner tiles look a little bit safer against your hand right now.
Yeah, we see 7 drawn, but not yet discarded by Joe. And, Peter did spend some time thinking about that. Ultimately decided that the Shumpo was the better weight. And we see 3 of the 8s, so it's hard to use the 7. In fact, it does come out. And, that came out from first. So we go again. 8. That's a 3,600 point swing. And now Peter is in range.
8 distinct terminals and honors for Peter here.
Thank you, Scott. We can see it's a 11,600 point difference. So a Mongon Ronoff of anyone is enough to overtake. Of course, the game wouldn't end in that scenario. We would get to go another round. And
but Peter getting a very unfortunate hand, trying just to make literally anything out of this. Maybe going for 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, Chanta.
Yeah. Both of those are definitely possibilities here. And importantly, you can call for that. Now, the West came out, the second one, it did not get called and rewarded by seeing the one so. So Sancho definitely seems like the plan here. To the right, we could see Tanyao, but again, this hand needs a little bit more value than just Tanyao. Could also turn into maybe aim for Toy Toy, Swanko, that sort of thing if you're shooting for the stars. Across the table, Joe is just trying to make any hand to end this. And there's potential for Tanyao here if you're trying to speed up your hand with calls. To the left, we've got also this Tempai for Tanyao. Tanadora 1. Waiting on just the 7 pin for now. That weight could easily be switched out.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many improvements. The best of which would be drawing the 6 pin, ditch 3-mon.
This is interesting from Peter. Choosing to discard the West pair is not actually thinking about making fast calls for Sanshoku or even Chanta. Instead, trying to make a Ricci hand.
Matthew, considering Ricci here, does not take the 3-6 weight.
Well, that's interesting.
Instead is holding on to that 17, holding on to the possibility of getting the San Minchan and a Pinfu.
I guess that must be the aim here, but I much prefer taking the widest Tempai as early as possible, because a 1-on hand is enough to move you over 30,000. I mean, I suppose there is, of course, the aim to pass Peter and take second place, but even just Ricci Tanyao Dora with a sumo is enough. So I think I would have taken the Ricci there with the 3-6 weight.
Well, and now with the are you taking that? Nope.
Oh
passing
my.
it. Like I think this is greeting for second. There's 0, well, not 0. You would have to deal into a direct hit Baimon to lose third. So I feel like this is analyzing the situation, saying, hey, I'm not going to come into third. Instead of just being okay with going from -5 UMA to 0 UMA, I'm going to go from -5 to +5.
Okay, now we have another 3-6 weight chance. Can you take the Ricci here? Does not. And of course, Hypera has been Tempai for a little bit here on the 6, so has not declared the Ricci. Now that you have the Suju trap, does indeed declare the Ricci. Ricci only.
It's a lot harder for Matthew.
Well, this might have been what Matthew was waiting for. Now that Hypera cannot defend, you might be more willing to take a reach.
Ricci.
Now we've got Ricci from Brett.
This is another Chitoy. Brett's been managing to make this happen. 6.
This
so
is a Chitoy too. And Tanyao. Ricci, Chitoy, and then Joe calls Ricci.
Oh my goodness, this is a 3-6 weight, so 6 would be double roan, but unlikely to come out willingly.
Well, and this is one of the better weights that Matthew could have been waiting for.
Yeah, this would have been at Sumo a long time ago. Now you took the 3-10 reach.
So there are 4 Riccis at this table. Matthew taking the Furutin one. What on earth is going to happen here?
Oh no, you draw the 7. The tile that you've been holding on to for so long, that is so painful. With all the Ricci sticks, would Sumo have been enough to overtake even if you Dama that?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting 4,000 just from sticks.
It would have been Tanya Tsumodora, so that's 4,000 plus another 4,000 would be manga. I think you overtake there. If you Dama on the 7, that is incredible. Of course, the 3-6 is better,
Oh,
but oh
God.
my,
And look at this hand that Peter has.
Ishanten already for Richi Pinfu Tanyao, and with the Richi sticks, this this is Tenpai.
Senpai.
This is ridiculous. Dama. Oh, that's a little surprising.
Pinfu Tanyao.
That's just 2,900 points on a row. I mean, I realize there's a lot of sticks out there, but
リーチ
okay, now takes the Sumogiri Reach, which certainly is spicy. I'm not sure how the rest of the table will read this.
Well,
リーチ
honestly, like, oh, there's the chase from Matthew waiting on the one so north.
The weight is tough because there's only one so left and one north
Sumo.
left, but
Oh,
it's so psychologically good. My goodness, Matt, this is ridiculous for Matthew, and this will overtake. Hypera does not drop below 30,000, but Matthew will claim second place here. And
Wow.
that 12 plus 12,000 you see isn't from the hand that was once, from all those Ricci sticks.
Well, I mean, there was 59. No, there was after the second Ricci stick, there was 6,900 in the middle. 3 Homba and 6 Ricci sticks. That's absolutely insane.
That was incredible. And well, Joe manages to retain first place there, but not without an absolute fight from Peter. And it is Matthew who claims second instead with plus 14. Peter over 30,000, so we'll finish positive 2.5. And these three players, Joe and Matthew and Peter, did fairly well for themselves here. Matthew just below plus 100, and the target is, well, maybe a bit out of reach with Peter. Is that 179 I'm looking at?
Well, to be guaranteed B1, yes. Although to stay in, I mean, you're cementing yourself into the playoff. Although that is the most brutal of all of the playoffs. For those who are unaware, in Pool B2A, the way it's going to work is the 4 players in 5th through 8th, which Matthew is currently in that group. Those 4 players will have a playoff amongst themselves for Hanchan, and only the person who comes in first in those 4 Hanchan will move on to B1. The other 3 will drop down into B2, or perhaps stay steady in B2 rather.
Depending on which playoff you're in. In this case, the 1-2, you'd stay in B2. But yeah, Matthew, and thanks Scott for showing this screen. We can see a little bit more clearly that there is a 30 plus point gap between Matthew and that guaranteed B2 slot. So in pretty solid position to see the playoffs there, although Alex has yet to play, and Felipe both have yet to play their matches. And so that could change drastically as we see 4 more games come to play.
And Blaine, who really is the same amount off.
You're right, Blaine too. So we could see a lot of swingy action here around that B1, B2 playoff spot. Now, Peter and Joe, of course, comfortably in that guaranteed B1 slot. Peter right on that boundary, but with a 51-point gap between the next player, is actually feeling pretty comfortable. If you can play a solid 5th session in a week's time, then you are probably going to have locked up that B1 spot. So well played from everyone at this table, and Joe and Peter looking pretty solid right now to move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, like, all of Brett's dealings, even, it really just felt like if there was a tile Brett needed to discard to try and make points, it was the Takame dealing.
It really did feel that way. And there are several occasions when Brett was in those scenarios where so many players were Ricci and would just draw the winning tile. Would not get the win either.
Well, now this is actually good too to kind of to look at the situation in both of the pools that we watched tonight. In B2A, we just talked about, and B2B, as we already mentioned, Alec taking an even larger lead there. Really, like, I mean, that's a super solid first. Michael in second has already played their games, So you've got a 50-point lead going into the last session, and it's probably not going to get any smaller than that. And then Carl dropping below Haru. So Haru currently, if she's able to hold on to that spot, the final guaranteed B1 slot in Pool B.
Absolutely. And then the next spots, slot number 3, number 4 and number 5, those are playoff spots. So Carl and Michael currently in the B1, B2 playoffs for this Pool B. Of course, it's really tight there. There's definitely opportunity to surpass, and it looks like Haru and Michael still have yet to play all their games for this session. So within the next couple days, even then, we could see changing here before next week. And I'm so excited for session 5 as everyone battles to claim their position. It's going to be incredibly intense. The cutoff points are going to change drastically, I'm sure, as every game happens. So I'm sure everyone will be watching closely to see where their closest competitors are as the scores change.
You know who else is fighting in session 5, Nathaniel?
Who's that?
Me and you. We play next session. Now we are not fighting for position amongst each other, but you're sitting 5th in A2, so you are 1 out of promotion, and I'm sitting 5th to last in A2, so I'm 1 out of demotion. So
for our own reasons, we've got reason to play a cutthroat mahjong.
Yeah, cutthroat commentator mahjong.
Exactly. It's fun to see the commentators at various tables, and I think this might be one of the first times that we've had commentators facing each other. Although now that Steve and Eric from A1 have joined the commentary team, then we've definitely seen them face off against Korak in the past.
Well, and as things stand now, we could see Eric and Steve end up against each other in the league championship at the end of the year, with Eric winning the Beta League, already has a spot. So Steve in second, if things were to end right now, would be the person awarded the second seat at that table.
Indeed. And interestingly enough, in session 5, Steve and Eric will be facing each other. So that will be extremely intense and exciting to watch. I cannot wait to get that match broadcasted.
Yeah, we're probably gonna like try to pull strings to make that one broadcast.
Everyone will want to do that.
All of these pools though are so exciting. A2 used to have like pretty huge divides in it. Those divides have shrunk considerably. The everybody in the demotion zone has gotten closer, especially Claire, who is now within striking distance after being in a deep last for so long after horrible luck in the first 2 sessions. And the top has come down some. Now, Min Ko has not played his games yet, so we'll see what happens there. But if Min Ko goes plus minus 0, then, I mean, all of A2 is going to be just like, I mean, there's 230 points separating last from first, and that's about first place's score in most of the other divisions other than A1.
Right. Yeah, A1, A2 have been extremely tight. Now, B1's a little bit more spread out, but there are also a lot more promotion spots, and we won't be able to see all of those as the top, or actually maybe we will in the future. Actually, I see we've got the A2 slots up here now, and we can see that Min Ko and I and Vincent and the other one is Kevin S. We have not played our matches yet, and they'll be played actually in the last Sunday of the session. So there could be even more swinging of scores here, and really excited to see how that pans out. But yeah, B1 also incredibly tight for the bottom few promotion slots. The top 5, of course, are not the only ones who are guaranteed. It goes all the way down to 8. And so the battle for 8th place is currently set at 27 points is the mark to reach. And there's several players who are quite close to that.
Yeah, so things are just getting so exciting across the entire league. Like everything's just getting so tight. Everybody's playing each other at these crucial moments. It's really wonderful to see. Like we were getting really hyped for it when going into session 4, And now that session 4 is starting to come to a close, although there's still several games that haven't happened yet, you could just really feel the tension building and building and building, especially in those B2 pools that only are going to have one more session of regular Hanchans left.
Absolutely. And so, of course, the first few sessions are kind of setting the stage to prepare us for what's happening right now. Right now is where you get all the crazy intense matches and positional battles, and it will be so thrilling to commentate on these matches as we enter the final weeks.
Yeah, and with those notes about what is to come later on this week and in future sessions, make sure that if you enjoyed this, you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see our VODs are periodically uploaded onto that YouTube. You can go to tinyurl.com/ARMLYT to see our YouTube channel. Subscribe there, and that's just a very good resource for seeing a bunch of mahjong games and a bunch of incredibly good commentary. We have lots of rock stars commentating things. Like Eric and Steve have both commentated, and they're at the top of A1. Korak commentates. Nathaniel is very good. I mean, everybody is just really stellar. So check those out. Make sure you subscribe to the or favorite or follow or whatever the word is for Twitch. Visit the website at americanrichi.org. There you can find info about the summer league, which is coming up. Signups for the summer season will end at, I believe, June 20th. I'm like 2 seconds away from seeing that scroll across the screen. I'm pretty sure it's June 20th. That
I'm
feels
pretty
right.
sure it's June 20th. Yeah.
June 2, it's a 0. Yes, one point to Ennui for getting something correct for once. And thank you, of course, as always. We had Scott in the booth today, and by booth I mean, presumably at home running everything. Thank you so much, Scott, for putting in all the hard work behind the scenes. Very, very helpfully showing us scores when we didn't feel like doing math. That is very much appreciated. We could not do any of this if we did not have people volunteering to do the broadcast, so we appreciate that. And be on the lookout for more broadcasts. We are certain to have more this week. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night. This is Ennui and Nathaniel signing out with the American Richi Mahjong League.